Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We are ready to start the second part of the Board of County Commissioners meeting of August 20th, 2024. And thank you for allowing my colleagues to have a little lunch break. We get grumpy if we don't. So I think that we have a quorum. I don't think we need a roll call at this time. We're going to go ahead and proceed. For those of you who are following, we are on page 119, 6A2. And we have staff here. Otherwise, go ahead. Yes, we have a movement right now. Wait, I think staff is coming. Are you on this next issue? Yes. Staff? Okay, why don't you come on in and we'll see. Does anybody want a presentation of this issue at this time? Seeing no one, go right ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to go ahead and move item 6A2. I move it.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Bernard. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. Great job, staff. Appreciate it. Very good. Thank you.
You guys are really
May they all be this way easy, huh? Okay, now we're going on to 6B1. And this is the clerk and comptroller. Do we have staff here for this? I think we do. If not, yes, we do. Staff. Yes. Good afternoon.
Mayor, do we have
anybody wish to have a statement by staff? No? Seeing none at this time. Do we have a first?
Yes.
By Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Bernard. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that
coming up short with money.
6B1 passes unanimously. Congratulations. Moving right on to 6C1 airports. And Ms. Beebe is in the room. Laura, good to see you.
We're going to get
With Isami. This is on a motion to approve. We have a number of airport issues following this particular one. So why don't we move forward at this time? Oh.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 6C1.
second?
Again, and we have a first by Commissioner Bernard, a second by Commissioner Baxter. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you so much, Ms. Baby. Should we go right on to 6C2 at this time?
Motion to approve item 6C2, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Bernard. I have a second by Commissioner Baxter. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it, don't go away yet. See that it passes unanimously and 7-0. And now, congratulations. Nice job. Moving on to 6D1. There's a light on. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yes, this was, I had actually asked staff to look into this matter on
61.
On 61. And I want to thank them again for their efforts and community outreach that they did. Staff, the recommendation is that this time we do nothing, and I have no problem with that.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Did you want to be the moving party on this?
I don't think there is a motion. It was just a report.
Okay.
It was a report and seeking direction, so
And seeking direction, all right.
No further direction.
no further.
Okay, so there's no further direction. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this? Very good. So you have your direction, and it's done. Thank you so much. That was good. 6D1, Facilities Development Operations. That's a summary. Moving right along. Boy, we are moving, aren't we? 63. And this is on a motion to approve.
with
Did I
D2.
skip one?
Yeah.
Oh, good. 6D2. And this is also direction,
Yes.
all right? Commissioner Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. County Attorney, I sit on the board on this. Does this present a conflict? Okay.
You sit on the board of the Historical Society?
As in, yeah.
Then that is a conflict, and you should abstain.
Okay.
Fill out the appropriate form with the clerk.
Okay, perfect.
I have, okay, very good, so that takes care of that. Let the record reflect that. Commissioner Weiss?
Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and, and make a motion, excuse me, to approve item 62.
I have a question right before we take a
Oh.
vote on this, and I went
I
over
made my
this
motion, so.
beforehand. Commissioner Woodward, did you want to give any statement on this?
I did. I had some questions on this one because as I'm reading this, it's $46,000 would have been what the rent we're asking for is. And I had asked, what would the market rate for this particular, the square footage and the location, what would market rate rent be for this?
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Isami Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations and Assistant County Administrator. We do not have an appraisal, but we did an estimate based on rates in the area, right? So if we take into consideration the space that the Historical Society occupies for total, and then the mix of museum and office space, we land at a range between 14,000 and 19,000 on market cost, which then translates per month, which then translate to somewhere in between 168,000 to 228,000 per year. So it's a range, right, from low to high, based on estimates of comparable fair market rents in the area.
But this motion is to actually do an abatement, which is zero rent, right?
This motion is actually requesting board direction if to proceed with a rent abatement or not. The Historical Society has requested a rent abatement be approved.
Okay, well, I read the email that was sent, and it felt vague as far as what the county gets for this abatement and what, I felt like we should have some discussion on this. If we're going to do a complete abatement versus at 46,000 is what was required, which is a third to a quarter of what would be market rate. And we don't do this for any other nonprofit in the county, do we?
Oh, yeah.
We do have some non-for-profits for which we have reduced rent or provide space, depending on the services they provide. And Ms. Purvi Bugaira, who is our Director of Property and Real Estate Management, can provide additional information.
Sure. So we do have leases with not-for-profits that are, as Isami said, a reduced rate or nominal consideration, but they also provide, some type of service to the county residents. Historically, the 43,000 that you're referencing, that's because we were charging them for the office space, but not the museum space. The quotes that Isami provided was if we were going to charge them rent for the entire space. And the Historical Society has just asked for continued rent abatement, as the board had granted them previously.
And how long have we been, this is rent abatement, how many years?
Sorry. The first rent abatement was approved from 2018 to 2023. It's
So
continued.
6 years of no rent, and the agreement was after that, then it would go to the 46,000?
The 46,000 was prior.
Was prior.
That would have been the rent that they should have been paying, yes.
Okay, well, I just think that we maybe should discuss this as a board, zero rent abatement. Like I said, the email to me wasn't convincing. So I'd like to
I
know what anybody else
absolutely
has to
agree,
say.
Commissioner Woodward, and this is something I went over with the staff and agenda review. First of all, what do they do for the county? I mean, this is county taxpayers' money that we are not receiving, and I want to know what they are doing for the people in the county for us giving them an allowance of not paying rent. Do we have an answer?
Certainly, I can provide the information that the Historical Society has provided to staff in the years prior. So when the abatement was last approved, there was a requirement that they will need to submit annual reports stating the services and quantifying the services that they were providing to the community and research and typical services of that kind. They had provided and have provided those reports annually. I do have them with me here today, and the board was provided at the time copy of those annual reports. And what they do basically is that they summarize the staff time and support they provide to different groups throughout the community. This morning, Jeremy Johnson from the Historical Society was here. I don't know if he's still here, but something to consider.
Mr. Johnson here from the Historical Society.
Seems he left.
My question really revolves around, do they do anything for our school children?
Can I answer this?
Of course you can.
Thank you. I don't know if you ever notice, if you ever go out onto 3rd Street, there's a line of school buses out there most days during the school year because they do open up. Their facility is free. In fact, it's free to anybody that wants to visit the historical museum. But it is, the schools have field trips there. They don't differentiate or discriminate, whether they're private schools, public schools, charter schools. They all have access to it, but it is free to visit for anybody in Palm Beach County, but specifically they do target the schools. You know, you ask about what they do, and they preserve a part of our history, lots of our history, and, you know, anything from, you know, talking about what happened here during World War II to, you know, we had, I want to say a year and a half ago, it was on the medical community, specifically on the African-American medical community, and outlining that history. I mean, I'm not probably as good as Jeremy Johnson is to talk about everything, but I think they provide a service to all county residents. Their doors are open for free, and I think it's a good use of that space. You know, we recovered that space, and many people may not know, when they look at that building, it didn't look like that a few years ago. When I moved here, it was covered, wrapped, something that I think our facilities people like to do occasionally is wrap buildings, but that building was wrapped and deep inside, and it was actually Attorney Harvey Oyer who really pushed for that building to be saved. They got inside and saw that, in fact, the building was intact underneath that wrapping of the old courthouse, not the courthouse you see there today, but the previous version of that courthouse. So it was recovered and has been made available, and I think it's an excellent use to preserve our history, allowing people to learn about what this community was like in the past. And I'd like to see them to continue to operate and taking money, in this case, for rent, specifically. You know, you're probably going to end up having to charge people to go in there, and you know, is that really the benefit that we want? Since it is available to everybody, each and every, you don't have to have anything special to go in there other than an interest in learning about the history of Palm Beach County and walking in that door, and they would be happy to educate you about it.
That's very good. Thank you so much, Commissioner Weiss. How do they make rent if they're not making any money? Maybe we should review our agreement with the Historical Society, because if they don't charge money and they are not getting any grants, then maybe, Ms. Baker, we need to review their agreement with the county and having to make rent. I think it's wonderful that there's no charge. I like that idea. If they have a lot of programs for the school children, that's wonderful. But how do we expect them to make rent if they're not making any money?
We're not recommending that they necessarily pay rent. We're coming to the board to say, would you like to continue with the abatement for the next, currently we did it for 5 years. And so it's time for, that lease is expiring. And so we're coming to the board to ask the board, do we want to continue, get some direction from you on whether we want to continue with it. And I think that Commissioner Weiss laid out the benefits. Mr. Johnson does work with us on special things that are coming up as well, and it is a good tourism site. So we're not necessarily asking you to make them pay rent at this time, because I do believe it is a benefit to our community
Obviously it is,
as well
definitely.
as serving as a tourist spot.
Definitely. Commissioner Woodward, and then Commissioner Baxter and the Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Weiss, for explaining this. My concern is, we all have offices right across from this facility, and never once have I been reached out to have a tour, to understand what we're doing, and that, to me, is a little concerning that, we are doing this, and you spoke very well. It would have been nice to have heard from Mr. Johnson, I believe you said. But I do think it's imperative for any nonprofit that we do something like this with, that they should reach out to this board as a whole, so that we all know the value of what we're voting for, because we do represent the taxpayers, and if they can't even come to me, and I represent 1/7 of this county, and I don't know what they're doing over there, that seems to be a bit of a problem. And maybe some of that's on me, maybe I need to reach out, but if they are coming to us for rent abatement, then I think that they should make the effort so that I understand why I would vote for this.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. I've never been there either.
I will take care of that issue.
Vice, I don't know which one of you. Commissioner Baxter, and then Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I do agree with Commissioner Woodward. It is always helpful when people can come to us when they have an ask. But I will say that when my son was not in school one day and he came to work with me, we did do a tour over there, and it's great. I love history and the way they preserve it, and to just walk around and see the historical courthouse here. I think it would be a huge loss for our community to not have that ability to do that for whomever is coming here, and for especially the students, because they can see where it all started, and then right across the street where we're at now. So I absolutely do love history. And because they don't charge, I think that's fair. It's not like they're charging fees and then we're abating their rent. They are taking care of it. I would assume on some level that we don't have to do. Are they maintaining it, Madam Administrator?
We maintain the building.
They take care, if I may,
Or-
Administrator, they take care of the spaces they occupy. We take care of the base building.
So, with that being said, that it could be a savings in itself, that one less thing for us to really have to take care of. But at the end of the day, I think it is a fantastic place to visit and see. And I hope, if you haven't, Commissioner, I hope you do get to over there.
We'll take your kids. Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
Thank you. I don't see this as being much different than us granting dollars to other agencies in the county that partner with us. So I have no issues with the rent abatement. This is the one place where we actually preserve Palm Beach County's history. And they not only just have a museum there, they have educational classes. I've actually been to a whodunit, and it was, in a courtroom kind of thing. Leadership Palm Beach County visits the courthouse. So it's partners with a lot of agencies in the county, and especially being able to have our kids go there for free any day of the week, and doesn't matter what school you're at. I believe this is a benefit to the county, and again, as we grant dollars, and we do this every year, we figure out who we're going to grant dollars to. This, in essence, is a grant to them, but they're providing a service to us, which is what the bases are for when we're doing a grant. So I am in favor of the rent abatement, and I would encourage everybody, if you have not been there, take the time and go over it, because just to see our history, and just to see where, a courtroom that has been in existence for a long time. It is our history in Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
You can see the butterfly
There are no
ballots there,
other
too.
lights, so actually, I used to practice law in that building. And it is beautiful. So I think at this point, I think we're going to give direction. Do we need a vote on this, Ms. Kaufman, or can we just
got
give
it.
direction
We're
to
good.
give
We're
a
good.
rent
Just give direction,
abatement?
it's
Okay. All right, so at this time, okay, very good. Mr. Johnson.
Hello.
Oh, you came in at the right moment.
Oh my goodness.
Just
Well, they
great
say
timing.
they say timing is everything, right?
It is, especially on your particular application. Sir, we are about to give direction to the staff as to whether we will grant you or the facility that you represent a rate abatement. So it may be, if you want to say something, but it may be wise not to. I'll leave that up to you. Vice Mayor, did you want to say something?
Mr. Johnson is the executive director of the Historical Society and a partner with a lot of agencies in the community. And if you have, a couple words you'd like to share with us, we've been trying to assess whether we would like to do a rent abatement or not. Several of us that think it's a good idea because you are a partner with the county on so many things, but I'll leave it up to you. I would like to hear your words.
Sure. Well, thank you, Commissioner Marino and Madam Mayor and distinguished commissioners. I just want to take an opportunity to thank the county for their incredible partnership in our important work. We reach thousands of students in our school system, residents and visitors alike. I just also want to share with you, we've recently become an official designated Holocaust education site for the School District of Palm Beach County.
I had no idea.
That will also continue to help bring young people to this institution. The rent abatement is critical to our success, and I'm grateful for your consideration.
Very good. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Mr. Johnson at this time? Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. Just how critical is that abatement? I think it's $46,000 a month. How will it affect your operations? Sorry?
It's a year.
A year, $46,000 a year. How will that limit the services you provide to the county, our school kids, if you end up having to make up that difference on your own?
So money is very important to us. As you probably all are aware, we've lost significant funding from the Division of Cultural Affairs at the state level, which was a critical blow to our institution. And we, quite frankly, use those resources, and part of our agreement with the county is that people like the Sports Commission, the Film Commission, Discover the Palm Beaches uses us constantly, and we have a wonderful relationship whenever the notion of promoting our county's rich history and cultural heritage is of issue. We are your partners, and so we consider ourselves partners with you all, and obviously being the Historical Society of Palm Beach County, I think it makes great sense.
Okay, now I understand why. It's because the state never funded the cultural programs throughout the state, and that's where you
Governor
okay.
vetoed it.
I understand that. Okay, very good. Okay, I think
State
we are
funded
ready
it.
at this time. Does anybody wish to say anything against giving them direction on the rate abatement? Okay, very good. Then
Please proceed.
Please proceed as you want to. Thank you very much. We look forward to having a review of your place, a visit of your place.
Thank you.
soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Moving right along to 6D3, and as we. Want some water? Oh, okay, that's all right. Should drink vodka, it's a lot easier. Goes down smoother, Commissioner. Okay, very good. So, moving on, 63, and we're going to need, obviously, a supermajority vote, 5 commissioners on this. Vice Mayor, did you want to say something before
I
we
just
begin?
wanted, we've done several of these in the past, and I would just like to make the motion to approve a purchase and sale agreement for 8.57 acres.
Okay, before you do that, does anybody have, would anybody wish to have a presentation by staff? Okay, seeing none, we have a first. Do you want to say anything more about your first? Okay, we have a second. First by the Vice Mayor, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All those 4. Anybody opposed? 7-0 is the vote on this. And going along to D4, the top of page 125, on a motion to approve. And does anybody from staff wish to have a presentation? Anybody here wish to have a presentation from staff? Seeing none, do I have any? Make a motion from the Vice Mayor, and a second by the Commissioner Weiss. All those 4. Anybody opposed? See that it passes 7-0. Very good. It's good to have facilities right here. We're moving on 65. And this is on direction. And this is with regard to the RFP to develop and operate the unimproved portion of the county-owned 20-mile Bend property for an off-highway vehicle park, comma, a racetrack park, or a combination thereof. And again, this is for direction for this area. So, would we like to have a staff presentation?
My apologies. We were
That's all
taking
right.
care of some technical matters. Good afternoon again, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Sesame Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations, and Assistant County Administrator.
Thank
We
you.
have a full table today. With me here is Eric McClellan, Director of FDO Strategic Planning Division, Purvi Bogaida, Director of Property and Real Estate Management, Jennifer Cirillo, Director of Parks and Recreation, Howard Falcon, Chief Assistant County Attorney. This item reports on findings from further due diligence on the county's unimproved property at 20 Mile Bend, as was directed by the board. Today's board direction will inform the RFP seeking a developer and operator for the property. Eric, to my left, led this due diligence effort for FDO, so he will deliver the presentation. We will be more than happy to address any questions or comments from the board.
Very good. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Isme. Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to present our latest findings to you this afternoon. And in addition to myself, we do also have our subject matter experts from the project consulting team with us in attendance in case they're called upon during any questions. A lot to unpack here, so let's get right to work. Just to briefly recap, the property has been identified as an opportunity for an OHV park since 2013. The board was informed in December that limited due diligence for a potential racetrack park at the property identified no fatal flaws, but did identify areas for further exploration. As a result, the board gave direction to consider both uses for the property, further investigate those areas in need of attention, and to engage with stakeholders to receive feedback. What will be presented today is, again, a conclusion that there is no regulatory fatal flaws that have been conclusively identified, but that policy decisions do remain. We all know by now the subject property is south of State Road 80, abutting County Road 880 at the 20-mile bend of State Road 80. The overall county holding is approximately 200.6 acres. That consists of an existing PBSO training facility, a communication tower, acreage committed to the South Florida Water Management District Levy L7, canal right-of-way, and approximately 161.5 acres of undeveloped land. The first task that we were assigned was to confirm PBSO's need for future facility expansion onto the adjacent undeveloped property, which is reflected by the images on the right of the screen. PBSO responded that no expansion will be required to support PBSO operations. Therefore, the approximately 33.5 acres that were reserved for that purpose can be combined with the 128 acres originally identified for the OHV park and/or racetrack park for a combined total offering of approximately 161.5 acres. And that became the basis of our further study. This slide reflects the results of the expanded property area and configuration using the Palm Beach International Raceway or Moroso Motorsports Park as the assumed program and design. What you see is elimination of dimensional constraints for a typical quarter-mile drag strip to fit within the available property, and no encroachments into the red areas that correspond to FPL encumbrances along the south and required perimeter landscape areas elsewhere. Only by the RFP response with specific programming and design, together with application of engineering and regulatory compliance review, can the true extent of improvements that can be accommodated on the property ultimately be determined. That leads to some important disclosures about limitations of high-level due diligence, such as that was assigned in this case, that I would ask you to bear in mind. For one, there being no specific program or site design as a basis of review and assessment, only conceptual level information drives the findings and results. Obviously, since we are undertaking this assignment to inform an RFP, we have no experience as staff undertaking the design, the construction, or the operation of a facility such as the one that's being contemplated for this property. Site conditions related to soil, vegetation, wildlife, and other physical properties are subject to change over time. And the same can be said for regulations that were reviewed as part of the due diligence. So our information today is not without its limitations, especially as time lapses. Turning attention to the FPL encumbrances along the southerly limits of the property, you'll recall that corridor is 150 feet in width and is improved with poles, overhead lines, as well as guy anchors lending structural support. FPL does have established guidelines for encroachments into its encumbrances, which typically are limited to underground infrastructure, driveways, fences and gates, overflow parking, trails, lighting, and other limited features that tend not to be obstructive and that are easily removed or replaced. Prohibited encroachments include habitable structures, water bodies, combustible materials, public recreation and assembly, items exceeding a height of 14 feet, and stockpiles. Effectively, anything that would compromise infrastructure integrity and maintenance and restoration capacity is scrutinized. FPL does render final determinations on a case-by-case basis in response to detailed design drawings, and a consent agreement is required where encroachment is authorized. Based upon experience and the existing infrastructure, no width reduction of the existing encumbrances should be anticipated to accommodate site development. At the same time, the addition of the land area previously reserved for PBSO has eliminated FPL's encumbrances being seen as a significant constraint to design and layout. Now moving into our stakeholder outreach, let's begin with agricultural operations in the area. Identification of interested parties was assisted by Cooperative Extension Director Ron Rice, and only Florida Crystals responded to the outreach and invite to meet. Representatives of Florida Crystals identified County Road 880 as a haul route during harvesting season and for routine employee access to the company's Atlantic Mills Road facility to the west. Preference was expressed for locating site access as far south on County Road 880 as possible to maximize queuing from State Road 80 both pre and post events. Dedicated lanes on County Road 880 for site and through traffic, combined with signage, roadway illumination, and a flashing light at the site driveway were identified as interests. The canal alongside County Road 880 was identified as a major agricultural drainage feature. Since both the property and County Road 880 drain to this canal and on-site retention will be a required component of any site development, no material changes are anticipated. Concern with any construction vibration causing seepage to or from the canal was raised, although the extent of muck soils is believed to preclude any blasting or activity that would affect off-site soils or subsurface conditions. Florida Crystals did express interest in muck soils that could be made available from the property for application to its agricultural lands. Sound generation was questioned, and that associated with PBSO's training facility was acknowledged to have no impacts to operations. Use of Connors Highway was identified as a concern for both safety and operational reasons. A combination of signage and a traffic operations management plan for both construction and operational phases was identified as potential solutions. The approaching replacement of the County Road 880 bridge crossing the South Florida Water Management District C51 canal was acknowledged, and interest was expressed in adding lanes as part of same. Interest was also raised in an extension of the turn lane onto County Road 880 from State Road 80, and I'm going to have more on these later in the presentation. Next, we met with the Building Division representatives having responsibility for floodplain and regulatory oversight. The property was confirmed not to be in a floodplain and within Flood Zone D, which is not atypical. Building occupancy and use was noted to pose no issues, and design in collaboration with fire rescue encouraged. Site soils were acknowledged to pose a construction challenge with some combination of muck removal, pilings, and/or special building foundation design likely necessary. Vehicular use areas will also require a design that achieves appropriate stabilization. An environmental study was noted as being required for building permit issuance. Considering that Moroso Park was also operated in an environmental area, this is not believed to present a significant issue. And last, we met with a cross-section of various division management personnel of the South Florida Water Management District on May 15th. Focus was predominantly on the district's adjacent property to the south, which is known as Stormwater Treatment Area, or STA 1W. District staff identified operations, functions, and uses, including stormwater management, wildlife habitat, conservation, and passive public recreation, such as hiking, biking, observation, hunting, and tours. Based upon those functions, district staff questioned the compatibility of a racetrack park. Specific concerns identified include noise, motor vehicle fluids and emissions, and soil composition, posing heightened potential for seepage of contaminants into soils and groundwater or water bodies. District staff emphasized the difference between OHV operations and high-performance vehicles. District staff was not aware of any protected species inhabiting the area and characterized local birds and other wildlife as being migratory. Proximity to the Arthur R. Marshall Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge was also raised. Although active permits for the property have confirmed no wetland presence, a formal wetland determination will be required prior to issuance of any additional permits having impacts to site soils. This could have an impact on site design and programming or mitigation requirements, although quality is expected to be poor due to past farming and active pumping operations. District staff also question impacts to site security, local traffic operations, and potential for conflicts with farming and hunting activities in the area. On the topic of noise, Edward Duggar and Associates was commissioned to prepare acoustical modeling and sound propagation calculations associated with use of the property as a motorsports park. The full report, dated July 15th, is included within attachment 3 of the item. And I would say this is by far the most technical and hypothetical component of the entire expanded due diligence. Having no program or design, the same fit study drawings that we saw on slide 5 were utilized as the assumed site condition, although the study found only negligible sound differences between these configurations. Other study methodologies and assumptions are shown on this slide, including a sound generation assignment of facilities for recreation and sporting activities that is equivalent to 4 simultaneously driven speedway motorbikes based upon available software modeling options. This was indicated to be representative since sound levels of this magnitude are in the upper range of those that would be expected to be produced by most any vehicle operating on the property, examples including motorcycles, carts, and racing automobiles, and therefore is a worst case condition. Continuing with sound and noise, the table on top of this slide is taken from the Unified Land Development Code and establishes maximum allowable sound levels based upon receiving land use, source, time of day, and service area. For ease, the applicable information is highlighted on this slide, while acceptable sound impact on residential areas, which in this case would be residential properties in the Arden community, ranging from 50 to 55 decibels, and all other surroundings at 70 decibels. The lower table reflects model results based upon maximum sound at any given point in time. Results are provided for operating scenarios ranging from all vehicular courses in simultaneous operation to each operated solely. As you can see, the static output demonstrates potential for a combination of compliance and non-compliance. With that as background, let's review some of the modeling results. This image is a configuration with all courses in simultaneous operation. With a 70 decimal limit applied to non-residential property, you can see where the orange line corresponding to the 70 decibels extends onto non-residential properties surrounding the site. And with a 55 decimal daytime limit for residential property, you can see the reach into Arden at the top right before sound attenuates to that compliant level. This slide shows the other configuration with all courses, again, in simultaneous operation. The results are materially unchanged from the prior slide. This next image duplicates slide 14, but for a 10-foot high barrier having been applied at the outer limits of the courses, which appears as a brown line on this slide. This is done to test the effectiveness of physical installations as a potential sound mitigation measure. In comparing the model outputs with and without the barriers, there is only slight difference, which suggests that an attempt to contain sound through a physical perimeter treatment, be that a berm, wall, vegetation, or combination, is not an effective means to noise mitigation. Having shown those most impactful scenarios, this by contrast shows the least impactful, and this is with the cart track in sole operation. All impacts are compliant, but for the immediate area of the STA 1W to the south and residential lots in the extreme southwest corner of Arden. This is the other least impactful scenario, which is the drag strip insole operation. Again, compliance is attained, but for the immediate area of the STA 1W to the south and residential lots in the extreme southwest corner of Arden during nighttime hours. So to summarize and simplify, consider the following findings. No scenario results in compliance for the most proximate area of the South Florida Water Management District STA 1W, ranging from approximately 1,200 to 2,700 feet from the site. Only under the scenario with all courses in operation does sound exceedance approach the northwest extreme of the Arthur R. Marshall Refuge. No scenario results in compliance during evening and overnight hours for the southwesterly residential lots in Arden. And only the cart track and drag strip sole operating scenarios demonstrate compliance during the 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. time frame for most of the residential lots in Arden. Now, the next slide takes the analysis a critical step further by considering not just sound generation at a single point in time, but in a sustained condition. This is important because the measurement standard of the Unified Land Development Code is to measure sound over a period of at least 10 minutes and to base any finding on sound levels reached for more than 10% of that measurement period. When this measurement approach is considered, along with the fact that the entirety of the track surface was modeled as generating sound as a worst-case approach rather than only limited portions at any time, calculated sound levels are greater than would be expected under real-world conditions. For these reasons, the study finds an increased likelihood that the facility would comply with Palm Beach County Unified Land Development Code criteria. So application of modeling results to operational conditions typical of a racetrack park gives reason to doubt sustained sound at non-compliant levels. But regardless, staff does see potential for complaints being reported to code enforcement in response to site operations. As for traffic, the number of trips vested by prior approvals for the property will be sufficient to accommodate both motorsports park and or OHV park programming. A southbound left turn lane on County Road 880 entering the property will be warranted by a motorsports park. The regulatory requirement to extend the turn lane onto County Road 880 from State Road 80 can only be determined with a specific plan of development compared against established thresholds. Moving to utilities, we previously reported that utility services are available. Water can be accessed from the existing PBSO facility, although flow rate for fire protection could require an engineering solution. Sewer will be required, and connection to the closest force main is on the opposite side of State Road 80 and will require a crossing of State Road 80 and the South Florida Water Management District C51 canal, with high probability for a lift station being required to achieve appropriate flow. Electrical service is attainable from lines along County Road 80 and State Road 80, as is communication and cable. Now talking a little about drainage and stormwater management. There are existing permits allowing the property to discharge into nearby canals, and this is the same condition that is expected to support improvement of the property. The amount of land area that will be required for water storage prior to discharge cannot be determined without geotechnical detail and a design, so it can't be determined at this time. So in turn, this will have a bearing on site programming and design during any planning effort. Now for some other consideration and disclosures that arose during our discovery. Of course, in Florida, we have mosquitoes. But given the inundation of the lands to the south and the intentional absence of mosquito spraying in the general vicinity, mosquitoes are reported to be prevalent, mostly during the fall and particularly at dusk. Being attracted to carbon dioxide, any use or occupancy of the site should anticipate the presence of mosquitoes. Muck covers the site at depths of 6 feet or greater. This translates to a significant volume of material to excavate, haul, and dispose. Muck is known to have application and value for agricultural production, so a mutually advantageous partnership could be realized with nearby agricultural interests as a means of demucking at a reduced cost compared to traditional approaches to site development. No environmental site assessment was performed as part of the due diligence, and that was not directed by the board or standard practice for regulatory and exploratory due diligence. Furthermore, the former agricultural use of the property is most likely to warrant a more intrusive environmental audit and testing be performed. At present, this is challenged by the muck soils, and their removal would also be a changed condition from any assessment performed at the present time. So this will therefore be a responsibility to be assumed by a developer concurrent with site planning and development. I previously mentioned interest in widening County Road 880 and its bridge. While both of those improvements are in the board-approved infrastructure surtax plan, none of those are planned, scoped, or budgeted for an expansion from the existing two-lane configuration. At present, the replacement bridge is approximately 80% design complete, and construction commencement is anticipated in 1 year. Road resurfacing and canal bank stabilization, meanwhile, are ongoing. So some investment would be lost and more required to change the current course. Retention of the existing bridge for additional capacity and flexibility is not recommended by engineering and public works staff on account of its functionally obsolete classification, its end-of-life projection, maintenance commitments, cost burden, and risk avoidance deferred by leaving it in place to accommodate site traffic. And just like sound, vibration is also generated by motorsports operations. But in the absence of any design and operational intent, vibration impacts cannot reasonably be assessed at this time. Lastly, due diligence performed for the OHV Park, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue advocated for a helicopter landing pad being provided on site to accommodate Trauma Hawk emergency medical response. And given the same potential for medical trauma emergencies that accompany any motorized vehicle operations on the property, the same would once again be expected of any alternative programming, design, development, and operation. Almost to the end here, this leaves some grant funding opportunities to be addressed. Related to an OHV park, a first source is the T. Mark Schmidt OHV Safety and Recreation Program. Individual awards have historically ranged from $25,000 to $250,000 and require a minimum 20% match. A 25-year commitment to OHV use is required, with a repayment option should anything less occur. Operations must commence within 3 years of an award, with a 1-year time extension possible. Another source is the Recreation Trails Program through the federal government and administered by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Eligible expenses include construction, development, and maintenance, including past expenses, although planning activities are limited to 15% of total cost. The maximum award is $1 million, and a minimum 20% match is required, with a match approaching 50% receiving higher scoring. Again, a 25-year commitment to public outdoor recreation is required. Awards remain valid for 2 years, with a pair of 1-year extensions being possible. And as you can see in the final bullet there, we are not aware of any grant funding opportunities that exist for a racetrack park. So once again, no regulatory fatal flaws or physical constraints have been identified by the further due diligence, with sound being an area of some uncertainty, albeit due to a liberal approach of producing worst-case conditions at any point in time. So with all of that, we are here today seeking board direction regarding issuance of an RFP to develop and operate the undeveloped property for an OHV park, racetrack park, or combination thereof, as well as any specific incentives, restrictions, or requirements to be included as part of same. With that, we're happy to take questions from the board.
Thank you so much, and thank you, staff, for your due diligence in providing us with these findings. And today's purpose of having this on the agenda is to review what staff has prepared for us, and it has been comprehensive, and thank you, as well as to hear from the public in terms of whether BCC direction should be to issue an RFP tailored to the improvement and operation of this undeveloped portion of the property that's owned by the county. Do any commissioners at this time have any questions or comments for the staff before we take public comment? Commissioner Barnett, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of questions. I'll be brief as I can. You mentioned on slide 20 the sewer connection. It'll have to be built, a connection from across County Road 80?
That's correct. The closest force main for sewer is on the north side of State Road 80 and to the east, a considerable distance. It would be the responsibility of a developer to install the infrastructure necessary, which again would require a crossing under State Road 80 and either under or over the South Florida C51 canal.
No responsibility for the county to pay for this.
Not at this time.
Any estimate or idea what that would cost?
I asked for one, but there are so many unknowns with that. The size of the pipe, are we going over or under the canal? Too many unknowns to even venture a guess. Probably going to be a considerable expense.
Thank you. On page 22, slide 22, you mentioned mucking materials. The area is going to have to be demucked, and this might be an area where we can enter into an agreement with a company, Florida Crystals, has expressed an interest in acquiring this material. Will this equate to a financial benefit to the county? Is the county going to sell this material to them?
As it's been contemplated, the muck removal would be responsibility of any site developer. It would therefore be the responsibility of a site developer to enter into negotiations with any interested agricultural operation. The muck itself has a lot of high organics. It's very nutrient rich. It holds water very well. It's a very popular commodity for agriculture. That's why we think agricultural operators in the area might be willing to be a disposal location rather than having to haul it at a distance and pay to dispose. So it's essentially an arrangement for any site developer to find the most economical means to accomplish that objective.
Okay, thank you. And the last question I have is with regards to a helicopter landing pad. This was a recommendation by Fire Rescue. I'm guessing because they don't have any fire stations available in the area that would be suitable for this racetrack. Is that accurate?
I can speak at a high level, but I believe we might have someone from Fire Rescue.
I think we have, sir, are you with our firefighters?
Yeah, good afternoon, Assistant Chief Woodside. The reason for that, Commissioner, specifically, is because related to the potential of trauma events happening on that, the closest facilities that we transport to are St. Mary's Hospital and Delray Hospital. To meet the trauma criteria, they have to be fly. In most cases, probably I'm going to say high 90% of cases that happen out in that area, we do fly them into one of those facilities.
What percentage?
I would guess in the high 90 percentages with trauma alert patients, we fly into those facilities. We do not transport them by ground.
So in your opinion, there wouldn't be a need to build a fire station close by to this racetrack?
No, sir. That's not what I said. For any...
I'm asking if that's your opinion.
Do we need to build a fire station?
Is there one out there close enough to serve any potential accidents, aside from those that would be used by Trauma Hawk or helicopter? Do we need to build a fire station next to this racetrack? Because I've had people come to me with concerns saying that there's nothing close by.
Ms. Baker, hold it. Just, sir, officer, just 1 second. Ms. Baker, you may respond.
Commissioner, what we're looking at and what the Assistant Chief is referring to would be the actual incidents that happen on site is more than likely going to be very trauma-related. And even if you had a station located there, that would not help us. We need to get them to one of our trauma centers immediately if something occurred.
Okay.
So the reason the helicopter pad is being requested be put out there so Trauma Hawk can fly in and get the patient to a hospital, trauma hospital, as soon as possible. We've got 2 in our county. One is St. Mary's, the other one is the Delray facility.
Okay, good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Barnett. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Where did the people, when that incident happened at Moroso, where did they go?
It'll be St. Mary's.
And how did they get there?
I would have to look at specifics, but it would be one or the other, ground transport or helicopter. To meet the trauma criteria, without looking at specifics, it would be by helicopter where we create a landing zone and fly someone out. There may be instances where we can't do that, and it would be by ground transport, but that's not the option ideal.
Thank you. So a couple things to put on your radar. We've identified a site for a future project that's right next door to Arden for a future firehouse that should be coming. I would like to see it moved up, but they're telling me that we don't have the numbers to make that happen because we have other firehouses in that order. So there should be, within the next several years, a firehouse right next door to Arden. So I am looking forward to that. Also, I will say that it is a standard practice of most racetracks to always have an EMS firefighter on site during any kind of events. So having a firehouse will definitely help, but the necessity of it, if you already have something on site, to then either quickly drive them or to the point of, I'm not opposed to a helicopter pad, I'm just not, I'm not sure that we required that at Moroso and the cost of that. So I'd like to at least leave that up to the people running the facility if that is a requirement, because I can't imagine the cost behind that. If it's not, I mean.
I would only, in response to that, Commissioner Baxter, I would only say that accidents that occur as a result of racetrack
Again, not
and
against it. If it's minimal cost.
Needs to be their trauma. And I don't care what the cost is. You get that person, that individual to a hospital ASAP. And I don't think it's that significant anyways. When it comes down to the cost of an individual, many of the times it's burns, that type of situation. But we'll move forward on this.
Well, last question, does Trauma Hawk have a problem landing on a flat surface? I mean, a racetrack is basically a flat surface. So what are we asking for as far as a helicopter-specific pad?
There are a number of things from a planning perspective related to helicopter pad. Flat surface, yes. Overhead, what's close by, land projections that are related to that. We try to, from a planning perspective, when we do that, we plan and designate landing zones 100 by 100 without any particularly overhead or ground impacts for the helicopter to land.
Thank you.
I think that's it, Assistant Chief. Thank you so much. Glad you were here. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, here we are, Vice Mayor Marino.
I do have questions, but I'd like to withhold them until after we hear public comment.
Okay, are there any questions or comments before public comment? Seeing none at this time, we're going to have public comment. And the way we're going to proceed is Commissioner Weiss to my left is going to read 8 names, 4 on one side, 4 on the other. And when you hear your name, come on up to the podium. Vice Mayor Marino is a timekeeper. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. We have your cards when you hear your name. And when you come up to the podium, as soon as you say your name, the time will start. All right, Commissioner Weiss, go ahead and proceed with the names.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. One of my colleagues had asked that folks identify where they're from when you come to speak as well. So, Madeline we'll start with this lectern over here. Madeline Marconi, Janice Zolo Ridnour, Ben Reeves, and Nicole Conway. At the other side is Thomas Brown, Everell Cagno, I apologize for that, Corey Zarin, and Dawn Strong.
Okay, we have 2 podiums, 4 on the first 4 names on the right side, the second 4 names on the left. If your time comes and we say your name, you're not here, that'll be it. Okay. Now I want everybody to hear me out. Today, we're only going to speak on whether the county should pursue looking at an RFP for the development of this land. We're not going to discuss how much you love race car driving or you don't like it, but whether or not the county commissioners should agree to promote a greater review of this issue. Ms. Marconi, you're you're recognized.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, though, I do have documents to submit to the record. I don't know if you want to do it before or after.
You can give them here to the clerk, and he'll go ahead and disperse them. Go right ahead.
And those documents, just to state, are just a couple of asks. A letter of support from Town of Jupiter Mayor Cameron May, and then also State Representative Peggy Gossett-Seidman. So I'm here today leading the 3 Ask campaign to assist this county in fulfilling a promise that was given to the motorsports community in May of last year when our beloved racetrack was approved for destruction. This due diligence report that has come back is sparse, to say the least. And while it may not be intentional, this process is currently designed to fail. But we are here to help you guide you toward a solution to successfully bring a motorsports facility to our county. It has been said on the record the county is looking for investors to develop and operate the county land at 20 Mile Bend. However, the county has not spent the time or money to ensure that a racetrack can be built at 20 Mile Bend. At this point, the county, unfortunately, has unrealistic expectations, assuming a third party would be willing to pay for the studies and surveys to ensure a racetrack can be built. As we know, the county advertised that it would contribute the land, but in the form of a lease. Yet this land does not have connections to water, sewer, or electric. Therefore, these utilities need to be brought to the property line. Also, this property is entrenched with muck that needs to be removed and refilled with construction-ready soil to 10 feet above the water table. And to protect the motorsports facility for the next generations, a noise variance needs to be passed to ensure track operations will not be interrupted. Today, we are asking our commissioners to simply take action to get this property shovel-ready before the RFP is released. As stewards of our taxpayer dollars, we request that you grant these 3 asks and invest in this property, which will become an income-producing asset to Palm Beach County and its residents. This facility will bring new jobs, contribute to sustainable energy research and technology, improve local STEM programs, and above all else, improve the safety for our residents.
Thank you so much, Ms. Marconi, and we'll read the items that you gave. Thank you. Commissioner Weiss?
I don't know how they lined up, so I don't know who to call.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll go to the left to right. Ma'am, come on up, state your name.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Everell Calcagno. I own a home in Loxahatchee. My husband and I both drive a race car, as well as my 19-year-old daughter and our 11-year-old son. We are also small business owners here in Palm Beach. I'm also speaking on behalf of the 3 asks, specifically the noise variance for the property. First, the conclusion of the noise study is to conduct more noise studies, which isn't very helpful. As it stands, the variables and assumptions in the study were not applicable to the drag strip. The due diligence report used a sound equivalent study that included 4 simultaneously driven speedway motorbikes. To properly evaluate the noise effects on the surrounding community, the study should have used 2 drag cars in the southwest corner of the property where the drag strip will be located, with the noise emanating to the southwest as well, since that's the direction the exhaust would be flowing. It was clear from the Urban Design Studio's image that the drag strip could only fit in one location. Adjusting for these variables, the noise emanating from the drag strip does not fit into the accepted range for noise restrictions, including night restrictions. Further, the noise study omitted any testing for cup cars on the road course. That said, our independent calculations for both the drag strip and road course fell in line with the accepted range for all hours regarding the residential decibel restrictions. However, our results are that the upper limit of the acceptable decimal limit. Therefore, the property will need an unrestricted noise variance during normal motorsport operating hours to safeguard the property and prevent any potential hindrances on business operations from frivolous complaints, which seem likely given the false accusations and untrue statements coming from some of the very loud voices in the Arden community. Additionally, night events are largely held on weekends. Further, the expansion of the Southern Boulevard will strengthen its function as a natural noise barrier.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized before the next speaker.
Thank you, Mayor. Eric, could you clarify for me, when we were talking about those sounds with 4, was it motor sports bikes or so on, we were looking at the absolute worst case scenario?
That's correct, and the study is very clear. It did create what's considered a worst-case scenario. And we do have our subject matter expert with us in the audience if you would like any further detail on the study.
And even at the worst case scenario, the decibels reached, you said, what was it, the southwest corner, but it was at a level of,
Exceeded 50 decimals at night and 55 during the day. So you have two different measurements depending upon the time of day.
and that we're talking if there were 4, and it's still, even at 50 decibels is roughly what, I think I looked it up, it was like a dishwasher is 50 decibels, and that's worst case scenario.
I am not a sound expert. I would suggest
You said there's
we-
an expert here. If they could answer that, what is 50 decibels equivalent to?
Is the gentleman here? He is here. Come on up, sir. Identify yourself and answer the question, if you can.
Hello, Sam Schroyer, Edward Douglas Associates. We're located in Stewart, 1239 Southeast Indian Street. Just for reference purposes, I brought a few charts to answer these very questions. I just have to find them. And I will, here you go. So 50 decibels, we got like average residence, office spaces, background music. Some sources are saying whispered speech, quiet room. Air conditioning is 60. Typical conversation is about 65, just rough, you know.
And still, this is at worst case scenario, which we're not actually anticipating at the track.
Right. These are just from some textbooks I found, but these charts, you know, urban residence at 50 decibels, large transformer at 15 meters at 55. So basically mechanical equipment, not far from mechanical equipment, I'd say is, you know.
Thank you so much
fair
for that. I
example.
appreciate it.
I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's go on to the next speaker, sir.
Hi, my name's Ben Reeves. I'm from,
whoa,
oh, sorry.
whoa. Thank you. State your name and where you're from.
My name is Ben Reeves. I'm from Lake Worth, Florida. In lieu of speaking, I'd like to ask you guys to play a video from Laura Diaz.
Yes, okay, go right ahead.
Yes, he is.
Has this been approved by county staff? Yes? Okay. Well, don't worry, you won't lose your time as we get it. A lot of great green space.
Do we want to come back to it?
Maybe while we work on the technical difficulties, we're going to go on to the next speaker,
down.
but yeah.
I'll sit down.
Okay, do whatever you want. We'll go away. Sir, you're recognized. State your name, where are you from?
Good afternoon. Corey Zarin from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, and I'm a 33-year resident of Palm Beach County. I'm also here today speaking on behalf of the 3 asks and speaking specifically to the first ask, which is a long list. When the county put out the call for help to build a new racetrack, we all assumed the county would complete the necessary studies for any construction to start at the 20 Mile Bend property. However, that is not the case. In fact, no diligence was performed on the land donation from the sheriff's office, which is 33.5 acres alone. So as the process currently stands, the county expects a third party to come in, pay for the necessary studies that the county requires to build a racetrack at 20 Mile Bend. The commission uses language like, we're looking for investors to help us build this racetrack. In reality, we're asking for donors here to fund the necessary studies and then to build this racetrack thereafter on county land. That said, we've put together a list of the studies that the county needs to complete before an RFP is issued, which includes the following: Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental studies, an indigenous species study, an endangered species study, a formal wetland study, a soil composition study, a topography report on a 50-foot grid, a geotechnical report, a site survey with detailed measurements, and a boring study down to 50 feet. This list is on a reference sheet that has been submitted to the commission and that you guys will have for your review. It's time for the county to show it's serious about building this racetrack, and I thank you for your time here this afternoon.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, ma'am, go right ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, Commissioners. My name's Janice Zola Ridenour. I've owned a business in Palm Beach County for 30 years. I am also an Arden resident, and I am also a race car fan. However, not next door to where I live. And I've been listening to, I have this whole thing prepared, but after what I've heard today, I'm not a scientist, but I have common sense, and there is no way these dragsters are going to be the same as a dishwasher. I just Googled quickly what a gunfire decibels are, and it's between 120 and 175 decibels, and we hear the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office gun range every single day. But we knew that moving into Arden. We said, wait, that's for the betterment of our county, for them to practice, obviously. But this is not something we asked for. And this is not just for Arden. We're part of a greater Western community. And we've already turned to our Western neighbors. And they have known about this for months, and that's why they have such a great showing. We found out last week on the news. But don't let our small numbers surprise you, because we will organize, we will do our own studies. That what you've heard today is, their version of what they want you to hear. But we need time too to organize and defend our properties, our property values. We have traffic control issues now with reckless driving and speeding, where we've had major accidents that literally cut Southern Boulevard off, trapping residents and the folks from Belle Glades. In 2 of those incidences, we've lost 2 Arden residents as early as last month. We had a resident killed due to reckless driving and speeding. So this is a problem without a racetrack. And PBSO does not have enough officers to patrol our areas. We've asked them, we've called them all the time. I do not know how they're going to govern all of this traffic, and to be quite honest. And another community is being built right next to us that's as big as Arden. That's going to cause a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Brown. I'm here supporting the track. I have a 11-year-old son that races, and this isn't just a drag strip for him. This is his football field. This is his baseball field. Football fields and baseball fields are loud as well. And we have a whole family, and we all race, and we would do anything we can to help support it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your brevity. Ma'am, come on up. State your name.
My name is Nicole Conway. I'm also an Arden resident, and I'm not opposed to motorsports in Palm Beach County, but I am opposed to a racetrack with high-performance vehicles being in our backyard. I implore you, get more noise studies, please. We all know NHRA vehicles on a drag strip are some of the loudest there are, so I can't comprehend the results we saw today. This will be 2 miles from our entrance, and what wasn't mentioned at all in this entire presentation or noise studies was on the southwestern part of our community, 1 mile away from this, will be a brand new elementary school that we've already broken ground on. And for those of you who will say, hey, this will not be within the hours of schools, parents, think about how many events take place at your kids' schools outside of supposed school hours, fundraisers and holiday events and aftercare and after-school activities, teachers that come to work and administrators on days that are, the school is supposedly closed. The noise will then come home with us and be in our kitchens, bedrooms, living rooms, and affect every aspect of our lives. We also have a huge safety and security issue that you heard of. We have one road in and out of Arden that we'll now share with the racetrack. Adding thousands of extra cars to Southern, our only road can quite literally trap us in our homes, increasing accidents and crime. It won't decrease street racing, it'll just bring it to our doorsteps. Noise pollution, by the way, going back to that, is a very real thing. Even at what you're calling low levels, constant bombardment and noise increasing stress, anxiety, sleep disorders, affecting kids' development, focus, and cognition, and ability to learn in their schools. Again, I'm not opposed to motorsports, just please don't bring it to our doorstep. This project should not come with complete disregard to the quality of life of thousands of residents, children in their schools, people who are taxpayers and contribute significantly to the local economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Perfect timing. So, ma'am? Sir. There you are. You're recognized, sir.
Oh, do you?
Yes, sir. It's you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Strong, and I head up a two-car race team, Don Strong Racing. My teammate Troy Conaway couldn't be here today, unfortunately. But I'd just like to say that I moved here a year and a half ago. I live in West Palm Beach. I built a 1,900 square foot facility for my racing operation. It's a hobby, it's a passion that we have. And Strong Racing strongly supports the development of a motorsports facility in West Palm. And I understand I also have a video to present from our group that enforces this.
So as long as the video's been approved by staff, have we approved this video? All right, sir.
I understand we did.
You go right ahead.
Yeah, that's the jet car one.
Hey everyone, I'm Wes Buck, founder of Drag Illustrated Media and the promoter of the World Series of Chroma and the recently announced
It's the
Drag
other
Illustrated
one.
winners.
Larson?
Lane Larson, what about after this? What's the next big thing for you?
Well, you know, this morning was actually pretty darn cool. We had over 800 kids that came to visit, and it was kids all from Palm Beach County schools, and they learned about STEM and STEAM education, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics.
Right.
And they all came in, and what was cool about it was free of charge. So all these kids could come in, they could learn about high-performance vehicles, how to make these cars slipperier, how do they make them cooler, how do you make something that you want to go fast?
Yes.
And they all get to learn about everything that we do, and they got to watch me make a pass down the track. So the next thing is making this bigger, making it bigger, and more jet cars, more fire, and more fun.
You know, interestingly enough, there's a little tie-in to what you just said. At Supercar Week, when we took that away from fences and tickets and all that kind of thing, and in those days, and wanted it to be a free show, it was to make a family event. So moms and dads could come as a family unit, little boys and little girls, and music to my ears on a Supercar Sunday is to hear a young boy go, "Dad, wow, look at this."
I was there. Those are cars that you dream of. Those cars that I saw at your Supercar Week, those are things that people only see in magazines. And you get to see them running up and down the streets. You get to look at them. You get to talk to the owner and look inside.
Right,
and you
right.
get to see that it is possible that if you work really hard, you could have.
Sir, I appreciate it. It's always good to see a video.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
so much. Thank
All
you for your
right, we're
consideration.
going to have another 8 names. As you call your name, come on up to the either podium. Go right ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
Don Boulis, John Marconi, Ken Zeron, Travis Lewis, Mark Russell, Robert Warren, Michael Brosofsky, and Colleen Tierney.
Ma'am, state your name. You're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Dawn Bolus. I'm here speaking on behalf of the 3 Asks. At the June 4th board meeting, the Executive Director of Tourist Development Council, Emmanuel Perry, admitted that the loss of the motorsports was a tremendous hit to our county. Commissioner Baxter and Mayor Sachs instructed the TDC to evaluate the positive effects of a motorsports facility to then allocate funds to rebuilding this track. For perspective, the TDC had an annual budget of $85 million last year. Outside of staff, the budget goes primarily to advertising and promoting lifestyle of live, work, play, and as said by Mr. Perry on June 4th. However, an efficiency study to evaluate the return on investment for the advertising the TDC pays for has never been done, or at least we have not seen. We might not have the latest information as the TDC has not released an annual report for the fiscal year 2022 and 2023. We would like to know why the TDC is paying for advertising at Palm Beach International Airport when the tourists are already there. Instead, these dollars should be allocated towards higher return on investment initiatives, as Mr. Perry said. Take our destination to the next level. This motorsports facility delivers on both of those and will take Palm Beach County to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you. My name is Mark Russell. I live in Dania Beach, just down the street. As Florida Region's Assistant Director of the Sports Car Club of America, also known as SCCA, and also the Race Director for the Florida Region of National Auto Sports Association, known as NASNA, I am here to fully support the development of this motorsports complex and fully endorse the 3 Ask plan to make that happen. Both are national organizations that have strong roots here in Palm Beach County, and both organizations were frequent users of Moroso back in the day. In South Florida, we have over 4,000 members, ages ranging from 14 up until their 80s, almost there, providing a unique opportunity for the older generation to pass down their knowledge to the youth. Since PBIR closed, our events are much more limited, as Homestead is the only other option within distance for our members. However, Homestead is very far south and cannot support all the demand from Moroso, leaving all racing leagues and associations with only a handful of days each year to use that facility. This forces our members to travel elsewhere across the country, out of state, and so forth, or just get out of the business. Racing events that could easily be held here in Palm Beach County. Given Florida's year-round warm and sunny climate, this new facility would easily capture the demand for our members locally, statewide, and nationally, who would prefer coming to Palm Beach County for our races. Most importantly, for tourist resident revenues, our races spend approximately $400 a day, versus the county's assumption of only $240. Further, we would have at least 200 to 400 drivers and support crews at each of our 5 to 8 events each year. We again hope to bring these events back to Palm Beach County. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am, you're recognized. You're taking her time away, so I'm sorry. I apologize, but go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Colleen Tierney. I've been a resident in Palm Beach County for 30 years, and I am in support of the racetrack. I am speaking on behalf of the 3 Asks. As you all recently discussed, Palm Beach County's 2025 planned budget is now $9 billion, up from $7.8 billion in 2023, and there have been a lot of dollars allocated to questionable projects. The first is the $20 million for housing bonds, which promised to deliver 20,000 units, but has been revised to only 1,500 units. Secondly, Palm Beach County recently spent $700,000 taxpayer dollars for design plans to renovate the 12th floor of the current governmental center. As we all know, that's where the commissioners and their staff work. Further, the commissioners are trying to decide between $160 million to upgrade the current governmental center or $261 million on a brand new governmental center. The real question is why upgrading the governmental center is in discussion. It's clearly premature. We already have one of the nicest county governmental centers, and the county's satellite location can handle employee growth. Instead, the commissioners should be focusing on economic growth of private businesses within our county that provides wages to afford the skyrocketing high cost of living in this county. This motorsports facility will do exactly that, as the facilities events will propose $130 million of economic impact and generate an additional $44 million within the county. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're recognized. I apologize. The applause is taking your time away, but go right ahead, sir.
My name is Travis Lewis, and I live in Loxahatchee, and I redid my speech 3 times so far. I live right next door to Lion Country Safari, and I just learned on Google that the lion's roar is 114 decibels. I will not be here complaining about that, but 50 decibels is a quiet conversation. It is a refrigerator running or a dishwasher, and the county study on the noise that was talked about a berm, I believe, being built on the site plan, but does it go along with the berm that was built on Arden? Because I know somebody that lives on the first street at Arden, and they said with the berm that was built, you can't even hear traffic going by. So I don't know if that study was done with the berm in mind, but I'm also in support of the 20 Mile Bend project, as you know, a motorsports complex where you can take our race cars to a local track instead of driving 3 hours north or west. While sitting here, I learned about Vanderbilt University being built here in West Palm Beach. And besides believing that's a great idea, I heard the Chancellor of Vanderbilt talking about their autonomous vehicles program, AKA self-driving vehicles, for those that don't know the meaning. And what better place to test these vehicles than our future road course at 20 Mile Bend? I also learned about proclamations and declaring dates as National So-and-so Day in Palm Beach County 2024. And even though I don't have a crystal ball, I can see us back here in a few years with all of you watching the 20 Mile Bend people that made this happen, receiving proclamations to celebrate a great project that Palm Beach County did together. Also like to say is with the sewer and demucking, I believe that Palm Beach County should pay for it. And like the West Palm Beach
Very
mayor
much,
said,
sir.
put a little more skin in the game, please.
Sir, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Warren. I'm an automotive instructor with Palm Beach County School District. I have my finger right on the heartbeat of today's teens as far as street racing. Our new Palm Beach County drag strip is Hyperluxo between Jog and State Road 7. We have lost 3 lives in the last 4 years to drag racing, and we need some form of organized racing in Palm Beach County.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
My name is Ken Zarin. I am also speaking on behalf of the 3 asks, specifically the second ask regarding utilities. The due diligence report did not provide any meaningful or even basic information needed to evaluate the property. For example, regarding the water connection, due diligence report said the connection for the use for the PBSO shooting range may or may not support commercial use. The county paid $40,000 for this report and didn't get an answer about the water connection. Regarding the sewer, the report only stated where the nearest connection was, which is something we already knew. The contract due diligence vendors did not provide a financial solution to bring the sewer to the property line. Electrical connections details were not in the report either. It has been 2.5 years, and it's time the county gets to work on this racetrack. And since the county is asking a third party to build and operate a racetrack on county land, the county has a duty to connect all 3 utilities for the property of end of operator. How can the county ask a private company to pay and bring utilities to a property that is owned by the county? It is unreasonable expectation, and one of the reasons there has been a lack of serious parties interested. Therefore, while it may not be intentional, this process is currently designed to fail, but we are here with the solution to successfully bring a motorsports facility to our county. We need the county commissioners to take action and completely deliver on all 3 asks, as provided to you in the reference sheet. The county put out the call for help to build and develop a motorsports facility on their land. And for all benefits being discussed today, the county must complete the necessary work to get the property shovel-ready for a developer. We hope you listen to us and will benefit the entire county in a unique way that no other project can, and directly aligns with the county's economic and tourism goals. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Brasovsky, and I live in Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm speaking on behalf of the 3 asks, and I'll be focusing on the second ask, specifically the muck. As shown in the due diligence report, the parcel is full of muck and could layer 15 feet or more in some areas of the property. Frankly, we don't know the full details of the muck because the critical studies for a developer to properly evaluate the land were not done. However, the county entered into preliminary pricing negotiations with Florida Crystals without having the full details of the property. This could lead to a sweetheart deal for Florida Crystals that will leave both the county and the motorsports community in the dust. That said, we recognize the muck needs to be removed to develop a motorsports facility, and Florida Crystals can utilize the muck to grow its sugarcane. Further, the close proximity of the 2 properties eliminates the high transportation costs, and this presents a unique opportunity for both the county and Florida Crystals, and both should share in the mutual benefits. Therefore, in exchange for the muck, Florida Crystals should be responsible for all transportation and handling of the muck, as well as refilling the property with construction-ready soil to 10 feet above the water table. Since 20 Mile Bend is county-owned If the county cannot negotiate a fair deal for themselves, they should be responsible for any remaining costs to remove the muck and replace it with construction-ready soil. This is an important aspect to make the property shovel-ready and to ensure big business does not leave the community behind. The deal needs to be contingent on the commissioners successfully choosing an RFP. The motorsports community and Florida Crystals are going to be neighbors. Let's make sure we start on solid footing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir.
Good afternoon. My name is John Marconi, Palm Beach County resident for 30 years, and I'd like you to watch this video.
Has it been approved? Okay, go right ahead.
Hey everyone, I'm Wes Buck, founder of Drag Illustrated Media and the promoter of the World Series of Pro Mod and the recently announced Drag Illustrated Winter Series, a 3-race championship series for the best drag racers on the planet. I'm here to talk about the incredible economic impact that motorsports events like the ones we host at Bradenton Motorsports Park can have on a community, an impact that could be replicated right here in Palm Beach County. Those of us in the racing community often point to the dry lake beds of Southern California as the birthplace of drag racing. But the truth is, drag racing was actually born not too far from where you sit, on the beaches of Florida's Atlantic coast exactly 100 years ago. Today, through events like ours at Drag Illustrated and with potential future venues in this magical part of the country, I have no doubt that the future of drag racing is in Florida. At the 2024 World Series of Pro Mod, we witnessed the powerful economic engine that drag racing can be. Our Winter Series, which includes the Snowbird Outlaw Nationals, U.S. Street Nationals, and the World Series of Pro Mod, is projected to inject nearly $29 million into the Bradenton area over 3 months. That's real impact that could be replicated and even exceeded in Palm Beach County. For each event, we've welcomed over 200 race teams and 11,000 fans. These fans and teams book over 8,000 hotel room nights, spend nearly $1 million dining at local restaurants, and generate a total direct economic impact of more than $5.4 million per event. With a multiplier effect, that impact swells to over $9.5 million per event. And this isn't happening just once. This is happening over and over across our series. Imagine bringing that kind of economic impact and energy to Palm Beach County.
Okay, we're going to have another 8 names. Come on up to the 2 podiums, please.
Ray Alonso, Norm Lloyd. Sorry?
No, it's okay.
Pass, okay. Somebody who lives at 15899 Southwest 90th Court in Palmetto Bay, Florida. I can't read, unfortunately, I can't read her writing. Crystal, Kate, looks like Casey, Paige Coughlin, Lisa Weidner, Dave Hoxie, Mark, you live at 311 45th Street, West Palm Beach, and Robert Sampson.
All right, ma'am, you're recognized. You.
Hello, my name's Paige Coughlin. I'm speaking on behalf of the 3 Asks. As a professional race car driver of Discovery Street Outlaws No Prep Kings and granddaughter of the founder of JEGS, I recognize that having a racetrack nearby has been paramount to my success. Recently, when Formula One rookie driver Oscar Piastri won his first Grand Prix, he said he would never be where he is today without having a racetrack in his hometown. While I race in a different league from Piastri, I agree with his statement. The reasoning for this is simple. You cannot outsource the infrastructure. A child does not need a Major League Baseball stadium in his or her backyard to become a professional baseball player. The same thing can be said for basketball, lacrosse, soccer, and almost all other sports. Having the proper infrastructure is essential for children to enter motorsports, and today professional drivers are entering at an increasingly younger age. In Formula One, the globally recognized elite racing league, the drivers are now entering around 18 years old. The current world champion of F1, Max Verstappen, started racing go-karts at the age of 4, and he won at his first ever open-wheel race right here in Palm Beach County at PBIR. That win is forever engraved into the history of Palm Beach County, and Palm Beach County was a part of that. This is just one of the infinite examples that shows Palm Beach County's strong historical ties to motorsports. Given the immense resources that Palm Beach County has, the county should have a place for these up-and-coming drivers so that local children today can have the same opportunity that I did. When we need to continue the rich motorsports history that Palm Beach County has and always has since its core in the 1960s. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Alonzo, resident of Palm Beach County. I'm speaking on behalf of the 3 Ask. As a 57-year resident of Palm Beach County, I spent 37 of those years as a law enforcement officer with the City of West Palm Beach and retiring with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office as an operations commander. I'll be the first to admit that during my youth, I participated in many illegal street racings when I was younger. Fortunately, I got smart enough to take it to the track where it belongs, and I'm alive to talk about it. During my time with PBSO, I served as the Florida director for the Beat the Heat program. This program helps take street racers off public roads and onto the tracks to teach them the difference between street racing as a crime and drag racing as a sport. I'm still the state director, but unfortunately now take my program to other parts of the state as well as other parts of the country because we no longer have it in Palm Beach County. You just saw a video of other parts of other kids going to events in other parts of the state. We don't have that. Since PBR closed, street racing has skyrocketed, as you know. It's become a nightmare because there's nowhere for these young racers to go. The closest racetrack is over 200 miles away, which makes it a 6-hour round trip for our local youth. Unfortunately, our youth are unwilling to drive 6 hours to race legally, so the street is their only option. As the previous speaker from Ard mentioned, Southern Boulevard has already become a drag strip, and as the high school instructor mentioned, we have High Paluxo as a drag strip. Now we have our biggest high school automotive department is just down the street from 20 Mile Bend, which is Seminole Ridge. A lot of our local dealers work with that school to recruit their future mechanics in our county. Once a track is built in Palm Beach County, it will give our local youth a place to go, and no doubt will save many lives. Also, many of the classes the facility will provide focus on the safety of young drivers. I recall Mayor Sachs mentioning how one of the driving schools at PBIR helped to teach her grandson skills to avert what would have been a terrible accident. How many more lives could have been saved? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Dave Hoxie, born and raised in Florida. I live in Jupiter Farms, Florida, 3.5 miles away from the previous Moroso, Pratt Whitney. I'm speaking on behalf of the 3rd Ask. The commissioners unanimously voted to back bonds issued and funds renovated or renovations at Roger Dean Stadium. In effect, county co-signed a loan. So if the Roger Dean Stadium cannot or chooses not to repay the borrowers, the county will be responsible for $75 million, which was just for renovations, not building a new asset. Additionally, the Roger Dean Stadium will only bring the county $60 million for economic impact versus the $130 million for that new motorsports facility will produce. The facility will only generate an additional $44 million within the local community. Further, we hope the county will anticipated declining increase in baseball and viewership of Major League Baseball has increased by 15% over the previous 9 years. Baseball used to be the #1 sport in America. Now, major television networks are considering dropping coverage of baseball altogether. Meanwhile, the motorsports industry is flourishing. Formula One is a premier road course league, and it has seen popularity skyrocket since the popular network series or Netflix series released. The demand for motorsports in Florida brought Formula One to Miami in 2022. As your constituents, please, we believe Palm Beach County should capitalize on the massive national and local demand of motorsports. As a Jupiter Farms resident, I would like to see that in my county and proactive in bringing motorsports back with simultaneously increased road safety for all and drivers' tax dollars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I've asked our vice mayor to start the timing, so as soon as a person's name is called. So if y'all would like to applaud, that's fine, but you're taking away the time of the next speaker. So let's be respectful for each speaker. Sir, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. By the way, the name was Albert Goxman. I have horrible handwriting, so I can understand why you couldn't read it.
Thank you.
I'm from Miami. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Three Asks as well. There have been baseless claims circulating in an effort to discredit the positive impacts the motorsport community, associates, and enthusiasts produce for a greener future. Looking back at the advancements in technology, materials, and design for the motorsports community has been the main driver of the massive fuel efficiency gains for consumer cars since the 1960s. Motorsports will continue to produce these industry-changing breakthroughs for a greener planet. For example, in 2026, all teams in Formula One, the global premier racing league, will be required to use synthetic fuels, not fossil fuels. And as the cost to produce the synthetic fuel decreases, it will lead to widespread adoption, reducing the carbon footprint of the everyday consumer. Further, auto manufacturers need a place to test hydrogen engine designs and advance their electric vehicle research. Auto manufacturers also need to test developments in aerodynamics and in tire research, which also produces fuel efficiency gains for consumer cars. During the winter months, when the minimal number of available facilities up north are buried in snow, the American auto manufacturers need to continue that testing. Currently, there are not enough facilities in reasonable climates for the auto manufacturers to test their designs during the winter, slowing the process of green initiatives. This motorsports facility will keep us all on the path towards greener, more sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Widener. I'm the wife of a second-generation drag racer. I'm the mom to two third-generation drag racers. And I am here to speak on behalf of the Three Asks, more specifically the immediate surrounding environmental impact. It's important to note that while physical buildings and development occupy carbon space, a motorsports facility is considered an open-air facility with minimal buildings on the property. One could argue that virtually any development that's approved in Palm Beach County for the construction of buildings would be considered detrimental to the environment because of the carbon space it takes up. Palm Beach International Raceway was an open-air facility, which after its closure the land was ultimately approved to be covered with over 2 million square feet of warehouse space that rises over 30 feet in the air, and I think that bears repeating. It was approved for 2 million square feet of warehouse space, and that it would rise over 30 feet in the air. That's a lot of occupied carbon space. It's also important to note that the former Palm Beach International Raceway operated seamlessly without causing harm to the adjacent Pine Glades natural area, which shared property lines with the raceway on 3 sides. In contrast, the 20-Mile Bend property shares one single boundary with attractive land used as a stormwater treatment area. The previous open-air motorsports facility operated for decades without causing harm to the surrounding sensitive environmental areas. This facility's operations will not create any environmental harm to the surrounding area either. The motorsports community takes special care to preserve a healthy environment ecosystem because we need healthy environments to enjoy the outdoors, and we invite all of you to enjoy it with us. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Good afternoon. My name is Crystal Casey. I'm a business owner as well as a homeowner in Lake Worth. I've also been racing for 30 years. I'm here speaking today also on behalf of the Three Asks. The commissioners have been too quiet and disinterested in bringing back motorsports to Palm Beach County. We have not forgotten the promises that were made to us when PBIR was approved for warehouses and then sold. Further, the county told residents to prepare for property taxes to increase over the next 7 years. And for what? So the county can build a new government building? The cost of living is high and it's still going up. Meanwhile, our quality of life and living standards are tanking. The county has been focused too much on catering to tourists instead of creating our outdoor spaces for its residents to enjoy. We all feel this way, which is why you see all the people here today. Sorry. We all feel this way. It's election season, and at the county level from today and going forward, we are one-issue voters. We also have long memories and will continue to vote on this one single issue for years to come. All 7 of you voted to destroy PBIR, and since then, all we've gotten is talk. Words are not enough anymore. We want to see initiative and action from all of you. If it isn't obvious by now, our community ties are deep. For every person you see here today, there's 100 more at work who couldn't make it here. We hope all 7 of you could see this through. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ma'am, so you're recognized. You're recognized.
Excuse me, my name is Bob Sampson. I'm actually a recently retired aerospace engineer from Aerojet Rocketdyne, so I am an actual rocket scientist. Anyway, over the past 35 years, I've been driving amateur race cars, road race cars. A lot of this is drag race. I've been driving road race cars. I've been involved with IndyCar and IMSA as a race official and technical inspector. Actually, I was a pit car member on an IndyCar team for a while. What I want to talk about is the professional series come in here. The professional series bring a lot of money. For instance, the Sebring 12-hour race is an annual event, brings in $195 million a year to that event. If we could market this track here, we could bring in people like IMSA, possibly IndyCar. The IndyCar race at St. Pete draws in $61 million in 2023 for the one weekend event they had out there. It's a joint venture with IMSA and IndyCar. So there's a lot of money that can be made off this. Also, Sebring is rented for testing for IndyCar during the wintertime. They rent the track for approximately $15,000 a day. Now, these teams carry usually about $5 to $10 million budgets for each car. So a 3-team car, you have $30 million in budget. They spend a lot of money on testing. If we can get them down here in the wintertime, we can make a ton of money off this track. I want to add one more thing about the fire part of it. Since in fact, I'm flying to a race tomorrow in Virginia for IMSA. We bring our own safety EMTs with us. They travel IndyCar and IMSA both. They're professional EMT trained technicians that go all the races, so that's all covered by them. Usually we hire local firemen to be firemen at the track, so you don't have the fire department right nearby. And this is done all over the country. See how much time I got. Okay. Many people may know of, there's a local guy, Kyle Kirkwood, from Jupiter. I lived in Jupiter 25 years. He started go-kart racing out of PBIR. He just signed a recent multi-year deal with Andretti Racing as an IndyCar driver. He was, if you watch Indy 500, everybody knows what that is. He was the car that flipped over towards the end of the race and skidded upside down. But anyway, he got his start as a 5-year-old kid driving go-karts here at PBIR.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
Hi, my name is Mark Weinthal, Murray Speed and Custom, 3111 45th Street, West Palm Beach. I am speaking on behalf of the 3 asks. When Moroso was rezoned for a warehouse, the basis of the approval relied on critical and false assumptions that the warehouse demand the county was seeing during COVID would continue to grow. At each hearing, your concerned constituents brought this to the attention of the commission, warning the commission that there would be an excess of warehouse space after the COVID demand subsided. Those wise warnings went unheeded, and now Palm Beach County has a glut of warehouse capacity. It is no longer a prediction, it is now a statistic. On June 11th, 2024, property appraiser Dorothy Jackson informed the commission that the unused warehouse space within our community, when valuable space in our community goes unused, it limits the county's economic growth and opportunities for other businesses to thrive. Palm Beach County should offer its residents more than strip malls, restaurants, and empty warehouse space. This motorsports facility needs to be added to the county's comprehensive plan and the master tourism plan. Traffic is a constant issue, which we all know. Building the facility in the western part of the county will divert both local and tourism from the busy eastern coast. With the expansion of Southern Boulevard, western Palm Beach County will be positioned for this motorsports facility. The county needs to recognize that building more roads in the same location won't solve the traffic issues. Diversifying the geological locations of entertainment locations is the key to solving the constant traffic issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to have 8 more names. Go right ahead, Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. Shelby Smith, Alex Berry, Scott Sheridan, Angel Portillis, and Colton Barrett, Tyler Glock.
Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the County Commission. My name is Alex Berry, and I am a resident of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and a continuous resident. Do I get another 2 minutes? Hey, it's my lucky day. I've been a continuous resident of Palm Beach County since the day before Ronald Reagan first took office in January of 1981. I am also here on behalf of the Three Asks. Although the many benefits of this track will deliver to the county, I'll be focusing on the economic benefits. The Motorsports Facility's event-related revenue will generate $130 million of tourism spending annually, which is double what Roger Dean Stadium is generating. The Motorsports Facility will attract 472,000 heads in beds, producing $9 million of tax revenues annually for the county. Leadership of this project has been in contact with the elite drag racing, drifting, and road course leagues and associations, including the NHRA, the SCCA, IMSA, and the U.S. Drift Circuit. Both the SCCA, who's already spoken, and the U.S. Drift Circuit, who will be speaking, are speaking on behalf of the Three Asks today as well, showing their strong support and the need of this facility on behalf of the members that they represent. Further, televising these nationally sanctioned events will propel Palm Beach County into the national spotlight in a way that cannot be bought by advertising. Also, the grassroots support shown here today was made possible through social media, which is constantly growing. For other municipalities without motorsports facilities, it can cost hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising to bring visitors. With motorsports thriving and sustaining on its own, the county will directly benefit from the events and event coverage hosted at this facility in the form of tourism dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
My name is Shelby Smith. I am from Fort Lauderdale. Mayor, Commissioners, I appreciate you taking the time to hear me. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Three Asks. Today we are given a lot of facts, figures, and estimates from various sources. These county numbers were sourced directly from county annual reports and public disclosures, as well as presentations given from various staff on the record at previous meetings. The Motorsports Facility's economic impact estimation of $130 million that focuses only on the events-related revenue was calculated using the official Palm Beach County Sports Commission's formulas. The estimates that were used within the formulas were derived from deep research and analysis that include primary research with previous Moroso and PBIR employees, data from current Florida and out-of-state racetrack operators, reports provided by the National Motorsports Associations, and dialogue with economic teams of the national recognized associations such as NHRA. These conversations were also used to develop the business operating model. Regarding the building plan, again, the previously mentioned sources were used in addition to consultation with premier racetrack planners and builders. The process has also included consultations with landscape and architectural firms here in Palm Beach County. This comprehensive and exhaustive research process uncovered the true benefits of a motorsports facility for the county in many aspects: economically, job creation, tourism, the local economy, environmentally, effects on neighboring communities, and most importantly, safety. We hope the commissioners use the data and information from the thousands of hours it took to compile. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you're recognized.
Hi, my name is Angel Portielis, and I live in rural Palm Beach, Florida. I'm the owner of Dent Angel LLC. I've been working on cars for 12 years, and I have to tell you that in those 12 years, I've never seen the car community become so unruly as it has now without a means or an outlet for expression. You know, we have to understand that these vehicles are not just vehicles, they're an extension of one's personality, and having a safe and strategic place to be able to express yourself freely instead of the streets, I think would be very beneficial to this community. You know, I have 4 kids. I myself used to do street racing a lot. I've gotten in trouble for it. I've gone to jail, and let me tell you something, growing up with 4 kids now, being more mature in a more mature position, I wouldn't want them to learn the hard way, as I did, what it means when you take this fun out on the street in a dangerous manner. You know, I think that everybody here would agree with me when we say, let's get these kids off the street and in a more strategic place where they can express themselves freely and not in danger. Also, now car events and local car meets have been targeted, and that's been pushing the car community away and further from being able to express themselves, even in a peaceful manner. Other things is, for some of these younger kids that are coming up trying to get into cars and motorsports, it's a little difficult because the nearest tracks are going to be 3 hours west, 3 hours north, and then an hour and a half down south. And for some of those that don't have the money to be able to trailer their vehicles that they pour a lot of money and love into, it can be very difficult for a young kid who feels that they want to get into the car community, be able to do that. And a very affordable manner. God forbid your car breaks down, you're not able to tow it. You have to tow it 3 hours. That would be very, very not beneficial. I think also that the racetrack that we had previously was poorly managed, and I feel that if this community were to not only manage it correctly, but also market it, it would bring an exuberant amount of money to, a flow of money to the facility and to the county. And that's all.
Thank you, sir. All right, going to have another 8 names. Go right ahead, Commissioner. It's okay. If you're not here when your name is called, you're not here.
Okay.
Go ahead and give me another 8 names, please.
Ben Brown, Gregory Miller, Justin Marotta.
Are those folks here? Sir, come on up and be recognized. The other 2? All right, pass them up. Give me some more names, Commissioner.
Michael Cameron Smith, Aaron Horween, Mick Martinez.
Are those fellas here? Okay, give me some more names. If your name is called, come on up.
Christopher Jackson, Diana Ramos, Dave Pulchena.
Okay, that's enough right now. We've got 4 over here, 4 over there. Sir, you were first. You are recognized.
Thank you. Ben Brown, live in the community of Arden. This whole process right now is very, very concerning for everyone involved as far as the residential homeowners. The parents are going to have their children attending the school 1 mile away. To ask for a noise variance like this that would torment our children day and night, because they would also hear it in their home, is going to be a very, very bad thing. Southern Boulevard is our only access point to our community. Just 2 weeks ago, we had someone die, and the residents could not leave our community for over 5 hours. If they tried to, it was a 2-hour detour out to Lake Okeechobee just to get back around to one intersection away from where we live. You're going to bring racing, more racers, more traffic when we cannot even control the roads and get back and forth where we live currently. Unfortunately, those in our region have not addressed the Okeechobee extension to allow us to move freely around our community and have given it no time, and it's fallen on deaf ears, and it's very, very disappointing. The nearest firehouse is 10.3 miles away from our community currently. And say what you will about a trauma hawk, but who's going to put out the fire? I don't think helicopters fly down and put fires out. They take injured people away. So you're still going to need somebody there, and you're going to pull resources from the other part of the county to possibly stage a fire truck. Again, we are forgotten out there in Arden over and over. We cannot commute back and forth. We have no fire homes. We had a gentleman die just about 3 weeks ago playing pickleball. 14 minutes was the response times for EMTs to get there. All right. This whole process is beyond concerning. We all just found out about this about 5 days ago as a community. We've had a petition. I don't know if you're aware. We've been on the local news outlets. We're organizing. This is wrong. You can say what you will about the economics of this, but the home value detriment to this is going to outweigh whatever numbers they're all calculating trying to present here today. And oh, by the way, it's on a national wildlife refuge. So we're going to spend $40,000+ to pursue this thing, and the concerns of my community are completely forgotten.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Baxter also owns an auto body shop that's going to benefit from this
Sir,
project.
you're recognized.
Conflict of interest.
Why don't you start the time?
My name's Greg Miller. I'm a resident of Jupiter, and I've been involved in the community for racing community 40+ years. There's really not much for me to add because everything's been said, but I just want to reiterate that the decision that's made today is far more reaching than the people in this room. As the lady previously said, there is a a huge racing community. It's mostly blue collar, so while we have a lot of people here today, there is a tremendous amount of people, and there are businesses that are also involved in the community or involved in racing that benefit this. They'll benefit from this. So, I just want to express that I'm in support of it. So.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Sir, you're recognized. Yes, Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to address something because it did come to my attention prior to this meeting. And for clarity, my husband and I do not own an auto body shop. We own an auto repair shop. And we only work on high-end German cars. So anything that would be racing at this facility, we absolutely don't work on and would have zero financial benefit. On that note, I will say that the only benefit my family will receive from this is potentially my children racing there, because we are a racing family and we love racing and we love the community and the people in the community and what it brings. So many things in addition to the economic impacts. Now, looking at a noise study and looking at all the factors that we asked for information, I did not see any reason to say no to this. I understand if I lived in a residential area, I would also want to see the noise study. I'd also want to see how close is this going to be to me. But when everything surrounding a community, from the FPL plant to the shooting range and everything else that's closer, is so much significantly louder, decibel-wise, than
I'll tell you
the
what,
noise study shows.
Sir, just a minute, Commissioner. If I hear anybody in this audience speak out, unless you're at this podium, you will be removed. I'm talking respect. Go right ahead, Commissioner. He's okay now. We respect each other's opinions.
The noise study proves.
Go right ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor, that this will be less loud than any of those things surrounding that. So that's where I have a problem with saying that this noise created is going to be some huge detriment to a community. I do understand it, but the science, the studies are showing different. Also, elementary school, I have 3 children. Having a school during business hours, and I was previously a teacher who could have potentially used off hours. I didn't go to school on nights and weekends to do work. Maybe some do, but we're talking minimal amounts for the amount of people we would be benefiting and helping. I mean, we are always in a position of trying to help the most amount of people. And right now, that's where I stand. So it is disappointing when people reach and they try to throw and sling accusations. I've heard them all about me at this point. But the worst was that I would be financially benefiting from this somehow. That's zero financial benefit. If anything, it's going to cost me money because my kids are going to want new race cars. So thank you.
All right, sir, you're recognized.
Hi, my name is Dave Polacina. I'm a Palm Beach County resident forever. I live in Lake Worth. So I need to point out the existence of a racetrack does not really automatically equate to an increase in reckless driving. I've been in motorsports for a long time, and I can tell you, traveling all over Florida, the country, there's not an increase in reckless driving going to a track. It remains to be seen from the loud voices in Arden that are falsely claiming. It's just reckless driving is not going to happen. Whether we're at the pinnacle of motorsport or young adults bringing their first car to the track for a Friday night with their friends, safety will be first priority at this facility. Sanctioned motorsports facilities always offer a place for drivers of all ages to enjoy motorsports while providing a safe opportunity to learn advanced techniques needed to avoid dangerous and sometimes fatal situations on public roads. Teaching young drivers proper techniques and skills in an enclosed space while providing a safe atmosphere is crucial. Within the petition, There are false claims that Palm Beach County roads will become more dangerous if the motorsports facility is built. The data shows the exact opposite, and I can tell you from personal experience, not going to happen. Annual traffic deaths have increased significantly since Palm Beach, or PBIR/Moroso has closed. We need to get kids off the streets.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your opinion. Sir, you're recognized.
Aaron Horwing, Palm Beach County resident for 34 years, local motorsports business owner. I'm speaking on behalf of 3 Ask. When speaking on the county estimates, project economic impact, it does so formulating, different priorities on the tourism dollars and excludes the additional production that the asset will generate within the county. These formulas are appropriate when evaluating a baseball stadium, but does not tell the full story for a unique asset like a motorsports facility. The auto manufacturer's testing requires engineers, drivers, and logistics. On refining the design, it is best to have the fabrication team close to the engineers and to minimize time delays. Manufacturing follows with operations and logistics. Chevrolet and Ford were consistent users of Moroso's road course for testing. This facility also provides the infrastructure for startup and smaller auto parts and aerospace companies to test their designs. One of the local aerospace companies that constantly use PBR's facility to test their products is Aerospace Technology Group. Importantly, the small businesses also that have been weakened since the closure of Moroso will be rejuvenated as the demand returns. As it's not just the motorsports-related businesses, it includes retail, small shops, vendors, hotels, small restaurants, food trucks, and more, and also small local businesses that were in the motorsports industry throughout the county, throughout the Tri-County area, pretty much anywhere in the surrounding areas. Further, it will make our community safer, allowing first responders to practice advanced training simulations that require this infrastructure that we need here in this county, just for, our kids. I have a 1-year-old coming up, next generation, and it's always a great place to bring your kids, for them to go and learn and be safe, and that's really the main thing about it, and that's how I feel about it. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, Diana Ramos. I've been a Wellington resident since 2017. I'm also a teacher, a high school teacher, and I've lost a student in Hypaloxo as well. And I don't go to school on weekends or nights either. I am here speaking on behalf of the 3 Ask. The Arden community claims the motorsport facility will produce a negative impact on the future site of West Acreage Elementary School, which will be located directly off Southern Boulevard. These vague and ambitious concerns are without any support. Sound calculations performed demonstrated that any sound emanating from the facility falls within the acceptable range for noise, an air conditioner, for example, or the kids speaking. The petitioners also ignored the fact that no motorsport facility operates on continuous 7-day events on a weekly basis, and all of the major events are held outside school hours. Further, this motorsport facility will strive to continue and build upon the same partnership the previous facility had in place. Hold on, I'm nervous. With the Palm Beach School District for decades. This facility will be a prime asset for the entire Palm Beach School District. It will give space for our mechanical engineer students, our technology institutes, to have a place to try out their prototypes. And that's all for now.
Thank you very much, ma'am. All right, we have the last couple, and they're going to be reading as follows.
The last one that I've not called is Jamie Rodriguez or Jaime Rodriguez.
Okay, and that's it. Rodriguez, are you here? Come on up, speak up. Your time is on.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamie Rodriguez, and I'm here to speak with you as a mother, an attorney, wife of a police officer, and someone who is heavily invested in this community. And I'm also an Arden resident. If I could impress one thing on you today, right idea, wrong location. We have many racing enthusiasts in our community, but we are completely against having this being 1 mile from our homes. And the idea that 50 decibels would be the only sound we would have to deal with, the same as a dishwasher. If anyone believes that, I have a bridge to sell you somewhere. We're concerned about the stadium lights. We're concerned about the environment in our area. But mostly we're concerned about the sound and the traffic that would be present in our community. If we're talking 15,000 additional people on Southern Boulevard, which Southern is bloated enough as it is and can barely contain the traffic for the residents that live there as it is. We're worried about peaceful enjoyment. Many of us move to Loxahatchee and commute to other places because it's quiet, it's peaceful, we love the community. It takes 20 minutes to go anywhere in Loxahatchee, even to go to Publix or the store. But we make that sacrifice because we like living out west, and we don't want to be the sacrifice. And I would ask all of you on the commission, if this were where your children live, your street, your school, would you move somewhere 1 mile from a drag racing facility?
These guys would.
I ask you all to consider the same things you considered for the Vanderbilt study, the effect on the community, the sound, the cost, an extreme cost for the county. And I would leave you with right idea, wrong location. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. All right, now, we have heard from everybody who has put their name in. We are now going to proceed with it.
Madam
Ms.
Mayor.
Marconis, yes.
There was a video that was going to be played. It was from Mr.
You're
Ben
correct.
Reeves.
Are we ready for the video?
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. McCarney. Go right ahead.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Laurel Diaz. I want to thank you for taking a couple of minutes out of your extremely busy time to listen to me talk about something that's extremely important in our county. Since the closure of PBIR, annual traffic fatalities in Palm Beach County have doubled from 25 to 51, and it's continuing to grow. We need this racetrack to reverse this trend. I am in favor of anything that reduces harm to the residents of Palm Beach County. This will take kids off the streets doing crazy stuff, allowing them to do it in a controlled environment with professionals and to prevent them from partaking in illegal activities on public roads. This is a win-win for all, law enforcement, our children, and our community. A motorsport complex will help find middle ground between law enforcement and the county residents, especially the youth. This complex would allow law enforcement to re-engage with the younger generation in the county. The complex will provide the infrastructure necessary to build a new positive community program, as well as bring back previous programs that were successful in getting young and bored drivers to have a thrill-seeking experience in a closed and safe environment where bystanders are not in danger. Beat the Heat program was offered at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office at the International Raceway through a partnership with Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, which allowed the youth to race against cops in a positive, fun atmosphere that taught them safe driving skills and habits, and most importantly, greatly improved the relationship between the two, something that we definitely need today. How can anyone object to this project that would take kids off the streets and give them a secure place to race and learn about safe driving skills and habits?
You've got another
Thank you. Okay. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to hear from any comments or questions by the Board of County Commissioners. So we're going to start with Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I just, a couple things I want to get on the record because there were some things that were said this afternoon that were false. There's no sweetheart deal between the county and Florida Crystals regarding the muck. That was something where Florida Crystals had indicated they would certainly be interested in acquiring the muck, but that would be between the developer and Florida Crystals. So I think that comment was way off base. As it relates to the comments made regarding the stadiums, and I think first is really important, the funding that goes to these sports complexes and these other tourist facilities comes from the TDC. It comes from the budget, from the monies that are collected from the hotel rooms that are sold in the county. So the question or the concern was a lot about the advertising. That's because those tourists are paying that tax, and that money then is being reinvested to help that segment of our economy. But as it relates to the stadiums in particular, that was a combination of three entities. The state of Florida put up money, the county invested TDC dollars, and the teams invested in those stadiums. An STA, a stormwater treatment area. If you're not familiar with what it is, it's not exactly what it sounds like. It's not just stormwater. That's water that's treated before it is allowed to go into the Everglades. So water that is sent south to the Everglades has to be treated, and the level of nutrients in it has to be substantially reduced before it's safe to go into the Everglades, so that we don't further damage the Everglades. So it's not just an area where water is just held. It's an area where water is cleaned and sent south to the Everglades. I heard some folks, and this was a little, obviously people have different opinions, but neighbors have concerns, and they're their concerns. And whether, the studies say one thing or another, they have valid concerns, and I think it's through discussion and education is how we overcome those things, but not just dismissing them out of hand. And in the same way with your concerns, we don't just dismiss them out of hand, we listen to them, and hopefully we can educate ourselves on it. And then the last thing we had to do, there was comments made that noise was not going to be an issue, but yet there's a request for a noise variance. So I think we need to have further discussion about that as to if noise isn't an issue, then why would we need to enact a noise variance? So I think, in general, originally this came up as an OHV park. I think it was our previous District 6 commissioner had asked that the land be made available for an OHV park or a possible OHV park if we can find somebody to build and operate it. I supported that. And I supported allowing this, whether it's an OHV park or a motorsports park. I supported our District 6 commissioner as well in trying to get, or having staff do at least some due diligence with it to see if that's even a possibility. We knew the OHV park was a possibility. So now there was a secondary matter. And I still support our District 6 commissioner in trying to, I think at this point there's further study that needs to be done. I think there's a difference of opinion on who should pay for it. My belief is if this is a viable business concern, they ought to be the ones funding this. When you connect to a sewer, if you're even a private homeowner, you pay to connect your house to the sewer. You pay to connect your house to water. That's not something anybody gets from their utilities. But I'm certainly willing to entertain more work being done on trying to get an RFP out to see if, in fact, there's a lot of studies that need to be done. But, maybe it's something the Tourist Development Council wants to invest in. That would be up to them. They have a substantial budget. I don't know whether they have the ability to do it. But I think that's where you're talking about tourism, a place to raise tourist dollars, and that's where I think that funding should come from.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, everyone who's come today to speak to us. I have been in support all along about using this land. It's not my district, and Commissioner Baxter brought it to us to try to find a way. This board went against council, shall we say, to try to save Moroso. And, if anyone, you can go back and watch that. But we did not own that land. That was private property. It happened. It is what it is. But we did make a commitment to try to find another place, and Commissioner Baxter brought this to us pretty quickly. And, you know, as your 3 asks, I read this, and, you know, where I thought this was going today is certainly not where we've ended here. I am in support of issuing the RFP, but asking us to have this property shovel-ready without even having a developer on board, or to ask for any of this to be done before we even issue an RFP is not something I can support. That the amount of money, and again, you know, you guys were very good in giving us economic impacts and numbers from around the places, but do you have numbers for how much this would cost, what you're asking of us right here? Just a number of these studies, the demucking alone, if this is something that would be a problem. We know it's substantial. And, you know, as you referenced the Florida Crystals, if they take it, maybe that's a part of the partnership that they work out with the developer. But asking us to have something shovel-ready prior to issuing an RFP, I would think would be very irresponsible of us to invest taxpayer funds. And whenever you say the county, please know you are the county, and the 1.5 million people who pay taxes to us, that's the county. It's not the 7 of us. It's the taxpayers. It's everyone. And you know, if we were to go with something like this that you're asking us to pay for, you know, I would think we'd almost have to send it to the voters, like some sort of a bond or something. And that's how big this is. It's not something for us just to decide here to get a property like this when we've never built anything like this. We don't even really know the parameters. We need someone. That's part of issuing the RFP, is to get someone to come to the table. And who knows where their proposal comes, what they tell us they need. Maybe there's definitely going to be room for discussion beyond that on what they're going to ask from us, and maybe the state plays a role. There's a number of things to happen here. But asking us to do this at this point, I would not be willing to do this. I'm very willing to issue the RFP. We still have to talk about some of the things with that. You know, ground lease, what's going to be required? You know, are we conveying the land? I mean, there's a number of things we need to discuss about an RFP. But just to go ahead and put it out there for everyone else, I can't support your 3 asks to do this prior to issuing an RFP.
Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you. There isn't anyone in this room that let me rephrase that. We did not make a promise that we would have a racetrack in Palm Beach County, and I'm starting off in a very bold manner, not soft-spoken. You all know that about me. What we did say was we would make an effort to see if there was a possibility of finding a location in Palm Beach County for a racetrack. Again, Moroso was privately owned, privately run for many, many years. There were a lot of statistics and dollar amounts thrown around here, and they were attributed to the TDC and the Sports Commission. George Lindley, and I apologize for putting you on the chopping block here, George, but can you come up to the podium? I have a couple questions for you. Since we're talking about tourism and we're talking about tourist dollars, and baseball was thrown into the equation, and room nights, I had texted George during the comments, and I said, George, can you please tell me where these numbers are coming from? And can you tell them what your responses were? Because I would like clean, accurate, concise information.
Sure. George Lindley, Palm Beach County Sports Commission. We are the sports tourism arm for Palm Beach County. We're a TDC contracted agency. I absolutely believe in sports as a community product and as a tourism product, and certainly remember the days of Palm Beach International Raceway, and prior to that, when it was named Moroso, and it was a truly special facility and venue. I think it brought incredible value to our area. I think from the speedway, there were events. Multiple different types of disciplines of motorsports that took place at PBIR. Roughly, probably 10,000 room nights that we would project based on. There was one year where we got a study of zip codes that came through from everyone that came through the doors, and we looked at it. There could be more, there could be less. That was the data that we had available. I'd have to look. I'm not sure. There's probably various motorsport studies out there, and I have, again, no doubt I'd love to see a facility of sports, or more development of facilities for sports. That's my passion. Bringing up, I know spring training baseball, Roger Dean Stadium was brought up. The combination of R2 spring training facilities, Cacti Park of the Palm Beaches, Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium, it's an enormous economic impact. 1 out of every 4 games in Florida's Grapefruit League is happening here in Palm Beach County. From a room night standpoint, and we do every year, we commission an economic impact study. It's an independent study that looks at spring training baseball. This past year, 57,000 plus room nights. I don't have the study in front of me, but I could certainly provide that. Was created from spring training baseball, both facilities, per the economic impact study. Where our sports commission comes in is we recruit sporting events for both spring training facilities when spring training is not happening. And we hosted roughly, it was over 30, I think like 33, 34 amateur baseball tournaments over both facilities. And combined, that was close to 59,000 room nights. So when you look at the venue as a whole, it's generating nearly 6 figures in room nights between not only Major League Baseball spring training, but all of the high school aged youth baseball that comes through those facilities. So I would certainly, I do believe that that those facilities are generating significant tourism as this county thought when making the initial investment. That being said, and I still a big fan of Palm Beach International Raceway. Was sad to see it go.
Why I asked you to talk about it was because it was sort of dismissed that racing would generate more than baseball, and I did not want that on the table.
There was the study that was recently done for this past spring training season also revealed $77 million of economic impact over both facilities. I love to stay in the lane of room nights and bed tax dollars. Those are very solid, but there was a projection of economic impact in that study as well, and I could absolutely share that with whoever would like to see it.
Thank you. So going on from that, when the county partners, whether it's a sale of a piece of property or a P3, a public-private partnership, or a partnership with another municipality, say, what we do, and our development order is no different than if we are disposing of a piece of land and private business is taking over that land. There is due diligence, and most of the time the due diligence is on the person taking over the land, not the county. The county partnered with the city of Palm Beach Gardens for an 82-acre district park. All the county did was say, here is the park. All the improvements that are on that property will be done by the city of Palm Beach Gardens. We did not hook up sewers. We did not put up electric. We did not demuck. We didn't have to, thank God. But everything that was part of that development of that property was on the city, not the county. That is the procedure. There would be no reason to change that procedure to have a racetrack here, off-road vehicles here, and I think the attraction of the off-road vehicles was the fact that you did not have to demuck, that you are on the land as it is. Florida Crystals is not interested in paying, they'd just be interested in receiving. And I think there is an EPA study that shows that there's a certain distance that you have to carry it. Now it has to be, what is it called? I wrote it down here. Sorry. It becomes disposal, so it becomes different than just moving it from one property to the next door neighbor. So I don't, requirement for removal and relocating muck. I don't see us doing any muck removal as the responsibility of the county, because there are other options on that property that have nothing to do with removal with demucking. So I would like to see an RFP that encompasses off-track vehicles. If there is a possibility of a racetrack, the entity that would be taking it over, it is their responsibility to design, to demuck, to bring utilities there, and I would not agree to anything other than that. And I don't mean to sound harsh, but this is what we do with every other business entity that partners with the county. So we can't change for a racetrack because we also have other entities that would then say, well, you did it for them, you need to do it for us. And that's not how we work. We try to be even for everybody that deals with the county. And again, we are 1.5 million people. Yes, we do have a large budget. And we are stewards of those dollars. And the reason that we are interested in maybe expanding our facility here is because as we grow, as our constituents grow, as our residents grow, as our businesses grow, we have to provide services to all of those folks. And if we don't take care of the folks that are moving in the county or using the county, we can't deliver the services that we need to deliver to them. They won't be coming here in the future. So I think I have said enough, and I think I've been clear enough. I am in support of an RFP. I think there are things that need to be worked out. But again, the land will be turned over just as it is. Thank you.
I think I'm going to call on Commissioner Bernard and end with Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I support us going out for an RFP, and if I'm looking at the three asks, and the first one, there are certain things that someone's asking, and I'm just trying to figure out exactly, like if you're doing an RFP, how would you allow through the RFP for some of these things to be done? How can they enter the property? How does that work? So in that way, someone who would be investing in this project, how would they do that?
So, Commissioner, once we issue an RFP, we provide a period for questions and different asks, right? And any potential proposer has the ability to request authorization from the county to enter into the property and conduct their studies. I should also mention that once there's a recommended awardee, there is also a due diligence period that goes into the contract. So we have both. Potential proposer has the ability through the RFP process, and we will grant access to all potential proposers at the same time. And I think that's key, right? Having everyone at the same level to access the property, to do their inspection, to carry out whatever studies they need to carry before they prepare their proposal and submit the same for consideration by the county.
Do we have a cost of how much it would for some of these things to be done? Do we have a ballpark or no?
No, we don't at this point. We have shared before that it is a function of design, and we do not have a design because we have not issued an RFP. And any given potential bidder in the process has the ability to design their business as they deem appropriate, right? It's a business model that they may decide to bring to the table. One of the things that we have shared before with some of those private entities that have approached us is that the extent of the marking you will need to do will be a function of the design you put in place and how you use the parcel, depending on what your end model is. So that's why Eric started the presentation saying we do not design racetracks and motorsport parks, right? This is not what we do on a day-to-day basis, and that's why the private sector becomes important in designing that solution.
Okay. I support us moving forward, and, I'm looking at some of these asks. I'd love to have more of a discussion and to see kind of like, what can be done. But for me, I believe the question that we need to ask ourselves are, should the county create this this racetrack park? Should it be something that is done by the county? And I just feel like, that seems to be, like, should that be something that we should ask ourselves? And if the answer is yes or no, then we would know exactly whether we go for an RFP. I know, Jennifer, you're here. I know that's not something that you do, from a parks perspective, but I just feel like with some of these asks that I'm seeing, that's really the question that I just think that the board at some point, would need to weigh in on. So, but thank you.
Mayor, did you
Go
want
right
to speak
ahead.
to that at all?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
Thank you. For the record, Jennifer Cirillo, the Director of Parks and Recreation for the county. So Commissioner Weiss, you reflected on it, and I know Commissioner Bernard, you were involved in previous discussions when this property was identified following board direction of a feasibility study of an OHV park and where, is there a need for it in our community? And if so, where would we recommend it be sited on our existing county park properties? So that's how 20 Mile Bend came to light to begin with. When our department, along with facilities, brought the feasibility study back for board direction, there were 3 options presented at that time for the OHV park. One was for the county to develop it on our own, similar to Polk County, trail systems, things of that nature. The second was for us to seek some of those grants that we identified that were available, but have a partner of some sort. And the third was for to seek a P3 arrangement, and for that P3 to develop the park fully for that interest and that business model, and to do their due diligence, return on investment analysis, and to determine if they could do it. That third option is what the board directed at that time, to really not have the county put forth any costs towards a development of this park. It did identify there was certainly a community in the OHV that came before this commission at the time and voiced they wanted this. At the time, more than 14,000 registered ATV OHV in the community. There's clearly a community around racing that is passionate about what they do professionally, competitively, I heard, and certainly recreationally. So citing that, has been this discussion as well. But I just wanted to reflect, Commissioner Bernard, on how you referenced, the options available to the board and that OHV discussion that we previously had and presented to you.
One follow-up, Madam Mayor?
Go right ahead.
In regards to, you mentioned the P3 arrangement. Is the RFP model the only way for us to do a P3 arrangement, or are there different ways that you can do a P3 arrangement to do something different?
Well, ISME certainly is my counterpart in that, but I will say, the RFP process is usually what we would use so it's fair to everybody, a fair and competitive process. We did an RFI as part of this to generate interest, requests for interest as well, and got responses from supporters of a racetrack as well. We do enter in agreements with nonprofits in some areas where it's appropriate to do that. But typically there's a competitive process, particularly if we know more than one entity is interested or has voiced interest in the proposal, which at the time the OHV community had several people that voiced interest. So then therefore we went into the RFP process at the direction of the board. And I will defer to Isami since she actually runs those processes for any property that Parks and Recreation controls.
So with that said, our process for leasing, disposing, doing anything with real estate is governed by statute and also by the prime ordinance, right? There are some exceptions as when we deal with non-for-profits and the like, but the standard, the base level is typically an RFP process.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to just thank everyone that came and were heard. It's been a process. I would like to ask staff a few questions in regards to the 3S. The third one about the noise variance, is that even a necessity?
I will argue it will be a function of final design. If it were to be competed and a developer with experience and position to develop comes with a study, that noise, with a design, that noise study and modeling will be to be redone based on the design at hand. And I think that will be key. That will give us the answer. At this point, we don't know, right? At this point, the model we have was, as Eric stated, based on a worst-case scenario. There were some areas where exceedances above the thresholds, the limits, were identified, and that's the best information we have at hand right now, lacking a design. And Eric, if you think I'm missing something?
And as part of that design that we had seen, there's really only so many I think, are potential positions to fit a quarter-mile drag strip.
Due to the length of the track.
Due to the length?
Yeah, two different arrangements were produced for the fit studies. What a developer of this type of facility might come up with might be something we have not imagined. Again, we do not do these types of facilities ever. They're very specialized. I don't claim to have any knowledge in design of these facilities.
But again, I mean, we can say that a quarter mile only fits so many places in how the structure of the property is. And so the loudest part in my history of dealing with racing, and to full disclosure, minimally in drag racing, but I will say that I am of common sense to know the loudest part would come from behind the race car, wherever it's facing. And project that way, not towards a residential neighborhood, as long as it wasn't pointed at it.
It's an interesting concept, and in fact, I don't think the study actually disclosed which orientation or angle the vehicles would be running. We might want to hear from our subject matter expert once again about their approach to modeling.
I think...
I don't know the answer.
If that's necessary, we'll go there, but that's one of the things. So again, assuming worst case scenario, I still don't see so you're saying based on position, based on who designed it, then the noise variance may have to go into effect?
We do not have the sign at hand because we have not issued an RFP. Therefore, we have not had a qualified developer that has come forward and said, this is what is viable. Based on our business experience, if we need to design this, here is how we will do it and what we will propose. The noise study that was done had assumptions tied to it, and they were worst case scenario type of assumptions. I wouldn't even try to answer the question if a noise variance will be needed at this point because we don't have a design. We don't have a basis for it.
Okay, so then the other, I am not saying, when we turned over the property to Palm Beach Gardens, as the commissioner had mentioned, who then paid for the due diligence?
The developer or the other
City of Palm Beach Gardens.
So the taxpayers still paid for that to get the stadium,
So are we talking about
two different properties?
Exactly, two different properties. And let me tackle stadium first, and then Jennifer, if you like, you can take the park. So the example about Roger Dean Stadium was given to mention another property that is currently under development. This board may recall that when we brought that contract to the board, it included a clause that said, this is the renovation budget. Here's how it's going to be split amongst three different parties, participants. And if you go over, the risk is on the teams, right? And I think that speaks loudly as to that responsibility that goes on the developer side and how the county has done business before. You have the particulars on the park?
Sure. So Vice Mayor Marino was referencing North County District Park. It's still county-owned property. It was leased to the city. The city has taken on all costs to develop that park, and in fact, freed up at the time $5 million and said, hey, county, even though you have this set aside for this, you can go ahead and reallocate that in your sales tax plan, which was done by this board at that time. So it is leased by the city, but the city took on those costs at the time to benefit the And we have some stipulations in there because it's still county property. They have to charge county and city residents similarly, except for a very small percentage for maintenance. So by the county owning that underlying property, it still benefits county residents in the entire North County, not just city residents.
And so when they were willing, I'm going to make a small assumption here, to take on that burden up front because of the economic impact that it would bring back to the county and city.
Oh, don't get George started on North County District Park. It's a great economic benefit to the county. But what I would say too, there is limited land available in the county, particularly limited parkland. Gardens recognized that they had a need for their town residents, but they also were willing to provide that service to the greater county residents as well. So it's twofold. I mean, some people have referenced that today. So it was youth development, giving back to the community, physical and mental fitness, but also a true economic benefit through sports tourism, both, yes.
If I may, Commissioner, I think this ties back to the business model, right? It's a private enterprise that needs to have a return on investment. The county, so far, through prior direction, had said we're going to make the land available, right? So that gives a starting point, which is what was given through the OHB RFP that was previously provided direction for, because the rent under that one was nominal, right? So the county was making the land available.
I believe it was mentioned that the Tourist Development Council had given some money towards the project to bring the stadium.
Towards the stadiums. So let me take the opportunity to clarify that the stadium, the renovation, which is at hand, which is very similar to what happened with the construction of the ballpark of the Palm Beaches, Cacti. It's a three-party agreement. There is a Florida statute provision that allows for incentives to retain baseball in Florida. Therefore, the county obtained $50 million payable over a 25-year period towards the renovation. The county is carrying a portion of the cost of renovating, and the teams, in the case of Roger Dean, it's the Marlins and Cardinals, thank you, are covering the rest. And in the case of the Cacti, it was Nationals and Astros. So it's a three-way deal that entails a portion of state funding, and then the county's portion of the debt service is being paid with tax-backed dollars.
With the uniqueness of this property and it being different in a lot of ways, and the muck and location and everything, I think that at least the number one on their asks is of an environmental impact. Getting it at least to the point of them knowing if we go down a complete RFP process and not, worrying about the second two quite yet, but at least understanding that. And I don't know if there's an area for the TDC to contribute to this. Mayor, I believe the mayor sits on that board. I would love to see if there are some possibilities for that. It's just so different. It's not like turning over a normal property in some other part of the county. The uniqueness of this, I think, provides for, some circumstance, and the potential that we've heard today for the economic dollars that could come back to this county is huge. How do we, not even explore the idea and get it to a certain point to make it see if, again, just a little bit more research, because Commissioner Weiss was actually the one who said that he would like to maybe even further explore that some more conversation, some more information maybe needed to take place. So I think this of what they're asking for just in that first part is more information for us prior to moving forward. And I do love the idea of putting out the RFP. So I'd love to hear what they have to say about at least getting more information.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Weiss.
Yeah, this is, I'm just asking you, because I'm hearing what my colleague is saying, to our, where's legal? There we are. So if the county, I'm just looking at it as a business person, if I relied on a study that somebody else did, and then it turned out that study wasn't accurate, would I have would the person who proposed that or provided that
Well,
study be?
We would definitely cover that in the contract with the developer if that was the case. If we did the studies, we would make sure we said they couldn't rely on them and they had to do their own. So,
I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think the idea that we would do the study and a developer would take them and do anything with them, because
It's
you're
unlikely.
going to say, you can't rely on these studies.
That's correct. And the developer will want to have a contractual relationship with the person that did the study to ensure that there is some liability
Yeah,
there.
I think it would be, yep, okay, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to bring this in for the last lap. We need a racetrack. 1964, this county, that's okay, sorry. 1964, Moroso opened, and we had a hell of a good time. We had racetrack that took care of school children that were learning how to drive. We had a driving school there that if you enrolled your student there, you get a discount on your car insurance. We had the Rolling Stones. You talk about noise. Let me tell you, the Rolling Stones performed at Moroso, Jefferson Starship. Some of you are young, you don't know these groups, but Eric Clapton. No, we had noise. You go to a racetrack for noise. I don't know about y'all, but I love the sound of that engine. I love the sound of race cars going and competing in a safe and clean environment. We had Formula One, we had drag racing, we had stock cars, we even had Indy cars. They make noise, folks. You know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. The track closed in April of 2022, and the noise stopped. And now we have some drag racing on our streets. And kids get hurt, sometimes they get killed. So we need to re-up this idea, because Palm Beach County was known, along with Sebring and Daytona, as an iconic place for race cars and racing. It's part of who we are. Just like we have great baseball stadiums. Yes, I'm chair of the TDC and proud of it. We got good people there. We are known for our racing. We also, and a lot of people don't know this, but at Moroso, we had condos for race cars. So a lot of folks who had, and I never met these folks, but I'd like to one day, 2 and 3 and 4 Ferraris, they would park them in these condos at Moroso, and everybody made money. Government doesn't build racetracks. You don't want us to build racetracks. Marconi's, thank you for coming. We've talked about this. I've been talking about this for months. This has got to be a public-private partnership. And we all have to find the right spot for it. 1 mile from a school or 1 mile from where people live, it doesn't make any sense. The Indianapolis 500 is not right next to a residential area. You could hear those Formula One cars miles down the road. It's a beautiful sound, but you don't want to hear them when you're trying to put the kids to sleep. So we got some work to do, don't we? We got some work to do. You got a great county staff, and we got great people out there. I know you. You've come to my office, and we've talked about it. You got to help us out. We got to find private entities, and there are there. They spoke to me. We're private entities. You make money on these things, folks. You know that. Private entities, come speak to this county staff. Come talk to us. Let's put this together as a public-private partnership for the benefit of the people of Palm Beach County, because that's what it's all about. It's not just for us, it's also for our kids and our grandkids, so that they're safe, they enjoy cars. Thank God we still have gas combustion cars, you know. One day we may be like California and be plugging in everywhere. But anyways, it's all right. Let's enjoy what we have. Let's maintain the beautiful, iconic raceways of Palm Beach County that we've always been known for, but in the right place, so that we can have concerts there. I think the Rolling Stones are still going. from what I heard. I'd love to see a concert here at a racetrack. Greg Weiss will be with me, I'm sure. But the bottom line is this. I am for looking into this. I am for the Tourist Development Council participating in this. I want private entities to come forward. Everybody can make money from this. County government should not build something for racetracks. We can help out. We can help with the land. We can do studies and things like that. But let's build it in the right place. Let's build it with the idea that it will stay for the next 50, 75 years. And let's build it so we can hear that beautiful sound of those race car engines as we drive down the road. Because we know that's a safe and clean place that we can all enjoy racing. So with that, is there anybody who would be opposed to not giving direction to the staff to do an RFP on this, to continue on it? Seeing no one opposed to it. Do we have our attorney there on the right side?
So it's the board direction to go ahead and issue an RFP?
Is there
that what
anybody
you're-
opposed to doing that at this time? See no one opposed to it? May we proceed with that direction, Mrs. Simi?
Oh,
go ahead,
I'm
Ms.
sorry.
Carr.
Could I ask, do you have any specific, like, items that we need to give direction? I know that
Do you want
the
conditions?
land was part of it, ground lease versus,
We do.
Good.
So if I may ask
Please.
a couple questions based on what we just heard. I believe that we are to issue, number one, an RFP for OHB, racetrack, or a combination thereof. That's what I believe I heard. I believe I heard also that there is a preference to have the land being leased, not conveyed. Am I okay to that point? And that third and last, and it can have a nominal rent as well, just like prior direction. And then lastly, that the developer to be chosen or recommended to the board for award of a contract will carry the cost of developing the project, that the county will make available the land, and that will be the incentive and contribution given, and the developer then will partner with the county to have that development be a reality.
We have Commissioner Barnett.
I just want to confirm that as we go forward with this RFP, that the 3 ask proposal will not be part of the RFP?
Isami?
Unless we receive direction
It was
otherwise.
Okay.
what I was
Commissioner
asking-
Baxter, go ahead.
Right, sorry. It's what I was asking if we could at least do, in the very first few bullet points, there were just some asks to make sure that's feasible moving forward, as part of the RFP, so that because it's such a unique property, I understand like most property doesn't have the issues that this will encounter, and I want to put this in the best position possible to occur. So not all 3, but we were looking at the environmental study. I think there was indigenous species, endangered, making sure that these things do not exist on the property prior to, so that it's ready.
So if I may,
Go ahead,
Mayor,
It's a
if I took
conversation.
notes well, the colleagues from the public enumerated 6 different things that they define as studies. Phase 1 and Phase 2 for environmental, endangered species study, wetland full study, geotechnical survey, and borings. All that is what will typically be done by a developer. I have 2 caveats that I would like to share to the board, and obviously the board can provide us direction as to deem appropriate. If we were to retain those studies, it's going to be a while before we can actually issue an RFP, because they do take time, and we will be performing studies without the benefit, knowledge, and required guidance that comes from knowing what is it that you're going to develop, what is the design, where do you need to place those borings. Back to the question that Commissioner Weiss asked and County Attorney Kaufman answered, even when we have studies for a property, and we just recently had an RFP like this, and we provide them, we caveat that in the RFP saying you cannot rely on this. You are required to do your own due diligence, because otherwise, those assumptions that are being made as part of a business development model can be flawed, right? The developer needs to have the certainty that they are selecting the consultants that will work with them, trusting the information that is given. And as county and county staff, we wouldn't recommend to you that you take on that responsibility. So I wanted to add those two caveats, knowing that if we are directed to get the studies, certainly we will do that, but it will take time then before we're ready to issue an RFP if those studies are to be included as part of the RFP. And they will not be reflective for the design because we do not have a design. And if they're included in the RFP, our recommendation will be that we caveat the same like we do for any other competitive process.
Commissioner Baxter, are you still?
Yeah, I'm.
Do you want to pause
Obviously,
and
I
we can come
want
back to
the
you?
RFP to proceed forward. When it comes to these studies moving forward, when Palm Beach Gardens did the due diligence, did they still leave all these same things up to the builder?
Yes.
So these are standard things that are left up to the builder. And again, it's just so hard because this isn't a standard property, right? This isn't like you're going into normal. So if my fellow commissioners support it, I mean, I'm okay with proceeding forward with the RFP without these, but I would like to, if the RFP doesn't get a lot of responses without having this information, I would like the ability to come back and ask the board to consider addressing these.
Understood.
Okay,
Certainly.
very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just, I agree with what you were asking to come back, but I would ask if you do need to come back with us at that point, also give us a cost estimate of what all of these, the different studies would cost us and also expected time, because I think that this would add a significant amount of time to even get to it, and we don't know how much this would cost us to do. And if it's going to be redundant studies that we do and then the developer does again, and it doubles the time, I mean, it's going to slow this whole process down.
So I just want to restate the direction received, just to make sure that.
Before you do, Commissioner, did you want to say
Yes,
something?
I wanted to, kind of comment or answer Commissioner Woodward's point. So there's some concern because it's a land lease, it's not turning it over we're not selling it. So when it comes to financing of a property to construct certain things, there's more limitations based on a land lease because you don't have, with this sort of property, the things of people who have been interested and I've had conversations with, this information would have been valuable to them in order to make this process a lot easier for them. But again, if we put it out there without this information, okay. And let's see who answers it. Let's see who comes back. I do like the idea of the dollars. So please, if you bring it back to us, timelines and dollars amount on getting these things completed. And also, if we could also have the TDC potentially contribute or ask them for some contribution, that would be great as well.
Okay. Isme, do you have enough direction from the board to proceed?
If you don't mind, Mayor, once again, I'm going to restate it
Please go
just
ahead
to make
and
sure I
state
got
it.
it right. We're going to proceed and issue the RFP with a ground lease nominal rent for OHB racetrack or a combination thereof. The responsibility to conduct the studies and do everything else that is typical through an RFP process will be on the developer, not on the county. And should that RFP not be fruitful in receiving responses, at that point, we will return to the board with a report as to that effect, and then provide an overview, a cost estimate as to time as well, of what it will take to perform the studies that have been mentioned. Did I get my direction correct?
Does anybody have any questions? That was pretty clear. Ms. Baker.
We will bring it at that.
I wanted to follow up on Commissioner Baxter's last request with the TDC. Just so we all know, there is a process that we have to go through. which includes an economic study specifically for what's proposed. So we would want to wait to see how all of the early due diligence in the RFP comes back. And then that is something that can be submitted through the Sports Commission, then up through the TDC, and then to this board. But there is a process in which we actually go through. We will also lay out what is in our plan, 5-10-year plan that a board has already approved, and that included the renovations for Roger Dean's, some other maintenance, operational kind of cost, as well as the expansion of the convention center. So that all of that has been planned. I will work with our TDC director so that we can dust off all of that information, be able to provide it to the board with projections on future. We are booming here with economic development when it comes to tourism, but we need to make sure that we're laying everything out for you. But we won't start that until the RFP process comes back to us.
Very good.
And Mayor, last question. When can we expect the RFP?
Based on the direction received, we will use the base document we have updated accordingly. I will argue we will, should be able to advertise in the next 2 months or so, to 3 months. I will just state that it's the same team that will be working on the Vanderbilt agreement as well, and that one has a hard date set, so I ask for your understanding to the extent that that is possible. I'm saying that with a smile.
Thank you.
So good to see you smile. Okay, very good. So we're all set with this. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to do, folks, we are done with this issue, and I'm going to allow you to leave quietly. We're going to move on to the next issue, and I thank you for coming. I thank you for having your opinions heard. You'll be back one day. We're going to revisit it again. Isami, we're going to do the next one. That way you all can stay right here, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break after the next one, okay? So we're going to move on now to 6D, right, 6D. So we have the same staff here, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Does anybody have questions on this?
Was that, sir?
Any questions on this?
No, this is that buying that land,
This is the
land next to ACC.
animal care and control. It's going to be
That's
easy.
yours.
I'll do
That's
it.
yours.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay, for the kitty cats now, let's go right ahead. We have a staff report. I am looking at 6D6, the land adjacent to the animal care and control. Do we have a presentation by staff that is necessary?
No.
Doesn't seem like. I think we all know what we want to do. And is there anybody who wants to say anything, to ask any questions or anything before? Okay, I just want to say one thing. I want to thank you, Isami especially, on working on this. And I want to state for the record that Isami and I have had conversations with the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office with regard to using the land adjacent to the ACC as a training facility for dogs, our assets, for the PBSO, possibly for veterans, and who knows, one day for our firefighters as well. So I want to thank you, Isami, and your staff for working on this. Do you need direction, or do we need
No,
a
I need to
vote?
make a
This be
motion.
approved. Okay, this,
And it needs a majority, a supermajority.
well, thank you so much, Commissioner Weiss. So we have a first by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Bernard. Are those for? Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. Now, would we like to take a 10-minute break?
If there's not anything contentious, can we just kind of whip through the last few
Do we do
items?
another
Does
one?
anyone need any presentations required?
You want to continue to go through?
If we can get through
Okay,
them
let's
quick.
move quickly then. Okay. Oh, it's so quiet. All right, let's look at the next page then, 6D7A and B.
Mayor, I'd like to make the motion to approve 6D, A, and B.
Second.
D7, A, and B.
Okay, now I don't want anybody to move too quickly. These are some important issues, you know. So just want to make sure everybody's okay with that. And if you do wish to discuss it, please don't hesitate. So, all those for, anybody opposed, see that 6D, 7A, and B, and on the following page, D passes unanimously. You got the first and the second.
May we have the second restated for the record?
Okay, the second was Vice Mayor Marino. All right, now looking at 6D8, and this is board direction,
Mayor,
ladies and gentlemen. Does anybody wish to have a presentation? Seeing none, I have Commissioner Baxter wishes to do the first.
Was there specific direction you needed?
This is board direction. Okay, we are going to do a direction. We are giving you direction right now. Does anybody wish to speak and give direction? Commissioner Weiss does.
Thank you. Based on the findings that have been presented by staff, I'd like to give direction that we move forward in replacing that medical examiner's facility.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any questions by staff with regard to direction? Does anybody oppose that direction at this time? Seeing none, see that it is done. You have direction. Moving on to 6E1, A and B. Thank you, staff. We
Mayor?
have additional staff here coming up, and I am going to, I know you want to come up. Does anybody wish to have a presentation with regard to 6E1, A and B? Seeing no appetite for a presentation at this time. It's always good to see you folks here. Let me see, what are we going to do here?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve items 6E1A and B.
Second.
And do we have any questions or comments? If not, anybody opposed? Everybody for? See that it passes unanimously. When you win, that's when you got to move quickly, right? So, all right, I think that takes, just want to make sure that we have it all. Okay, very good. Moving on to the next page. Housing and Economic Development. This is going to be a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Just let me finish it so the record is clear. I know your bathroom. So, all right. With regard to 2A, B, and C, Commissioner, does anybody wish to have a presentation?
Nope.
Seeing no appetite for that, do we have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Commissioner Baxter, you're recognized.
I'd like to make the motion to approve 6E, 2A, B, and C.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
By Commissioner Barnett. All those for, anybody opposed? Unanimous, 7-0. You did a great job, as usual. No, going on the Palm Tram. So this is 6F1. Now, Ms. Mayor, Lawyer, we're going to do one for A, B, C, and D, separate motions. Very good.
Together.
Okay, all together now. 1, 2, 3. We have staff. Does anybody wish to hear from staff?
No, thank you.
Seeing none. Does anybody have any questions or comments as a board? Seeing none. Let's look at F1 for the record. A, B, C, and D. Do we have a motion by Commissioner Baxter? A second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
7-0. Sometimes it's good to be at the end of the agenda. Now looking at Engineering and Public Works, looking at 6G1 for the record. There is a motion to adopt. We have Mr. Ricks and his team here. Would anybody like to have a presentation? Okay, and before we make a motion, I just want to state one thing. I had a very serious conversation with Mr. Ricks yesterday on the agenda review. I've had a telephone call from Amy Roach from the FP&L. We have taken care of, we are prepaying FP&L before they put up any street lights. The street lights are going to go up for, wait a minute, let me finish my sentence and make sure that I got this right. The streetlights will be going up after we pay for streetlights to FP&L on Lyons Road from Clintmore to Atlantic. Did I misstate that, or did I misunderstand the
You're correct.
understanding? Okay. good.
This particular item, Mayor, is not specifically for Lyons Road.
No, it isn't. I understand that. However, $400,000 is going to go into streetlights for Lyons Road. And at some point, we need to have a little conversation about this ordinance and the state statute, so we get it, so we're seamless with taking care of FP&L and our county ordinance. And I want to thank you, Mr. Ricks, and Patrick Rudder and FP&L for making that very, very clear. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to be clear about what's before us today.
No, I understand this 500,000.
Right.
Not
but
a problem. I
We're
just
not,
wanted to-
we're not paying FPL in advance except when there are unusual circumstances. Then we're paying them in advance. They're going to continue with the way that we do business, where they put in the lights, and then we pay them when we get the service rendered. Only when it's unique circumstances will we have to pay them in advance. That was the agreement we made with FPL. I'm not sure about Lyons because I wasn't involved in that discussion.
Well, Lyons Road does require a prepayment, and it'll be close to about $40,000.
That's correct.
Once we get this agenda item approved.
That's correct, and we're going to approve it.
Yes, ma'am.
So, very good. Any other questions for Mr. Ricks or his team? Seeing none. So we have, let me see, what are we doing here? Are we motion to adopt? Do I have a first? I have a first by Commissioner Barnett, a second by the Vice Mayor. Are those for? Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, and let's turn those lights on. Thank you,
ma'am.
Mr. Ricks, for the works. Thank you, FP&L. Moving on to the Office of Resilience, 6H1. We have staff here. They've been here for a while. Do we have, anybody would like to have a presentation by staff? Seeing none. Are there any questions or comments by members of the board? Seeing none. Very good. Do I have a first? I'm looking
Mayor,
on my left side.
I'll make the motion to approve 6H1.
Very good. We have a first by Commissioner Baxter, a second by the Vice Mayor. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes. Have a good time at the summit. I can't wait to hear what we learned from it. Going on now on the Office of Resilience, and Ms. Attorney, can I do A, B, C, and D together? 6H2.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes. Does anybody want to have a staff presentation? Seeing no, seeing no one who wants it, let me turn off Commissioner Weiss's light permanently. So, any questions or comments by members of the board? Seeing none, do I have a first to adopt this from Commissioner Baxter, a second by Commissioner Woodward? So so all those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes. 6H2 A, B, C, and D, and that goes over to the next page as well. Do well at this. Represent us well at that. We are recessing as the Board of County Commissioners. And we are going to convene as the Environmental Control Board, and we're going to look at the Health Department. On a motion to approve 7A1. Let me see, what do we do to take care of this? I think that Commissioner Weiss approves Gregory Vasquez, and we have a second by Commissioner Woodward. Very good. All those for. Anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously. So now we have adjourned as the board, as the Environmental Control Board. We are reconvening as the Board of County Commissioners. We are looking at board appointments. Do we have any commission district appointments at this time? See none. Staff comments. Administrator Ms. Baker, do you have anything to say at this time?
Just like to ask the board to receive and file our directives.
Motion
Yes.
to receive and file.
Second.
Second by everybody. All those for, I'm sorry, by Commissioner White. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously.
And one last thing I have to read into the record for
Yes,
by
ma'am.
law. I have to read it into
You
the
go
record.
right ahead and read it in the record.
Notice of public hearing, the Palm Beach County Natural Areas Management Advisory Committee will hold an open house and public hearing on the 10-year updated draft management plan for County Managed Yamato Scrub Natural Area on August 27th at Vista Center Hearing Room Chamber, located at 2300 North Jog Road, West Palm Beach, Florida. The open house will be from 5:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. The public hearing will start at 6 p.m. The purpose is to allow the public comment on the draft plan. These comments will be taken into consideration by the committee as part of their review and recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners for adoption of the management plan. For more information or to view the draft plan, please visit the Environmental Resource Management webpage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baker. County Attorney, do you have any statements?
No comment.
Thank you very much. Commissioner comments, and I'm going to start with Commissioner Baxter.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I've made enough comments today. I'm going to pass.
Very good, thank you. And Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'd like to do two off-site proclamations. One requesting an off-site approval of declaring August 23rd through the 27th, 2024 as African American Golf and Expo Forum Week, and also requesting a certificate of recognition presented to Rebel Recovery, Florida.
All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously.
Two more things,
Go
Madam
right
Mayor. To all the residents who are watching, I believe it's almost 4:30. Elections are still going on for the primary, so if you haven't voted yet, please go out and vote. And lastly, today is my daughter's 16th birthday. So she shouldn't be watching this, so I'm going to wish my daughter, McKenna Bernard, a happy 16th birthday. Thank you.
That's so nice. Happy birthday. Anything else, Commissioner? All right, Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. As Commissioner Bernard has mentioned, we still have time to vote. Polls are open till 7 p.m., so you have time to vote. I'll be leaving right now to head to canvassing board, so we can start canvassing. But I know that I received the memo from Commissioner Barnett on his request, and I'm just going to ask, because I need to run, that if he would include a friendly amendment in that request for a special session to also include property insurance as well. And with that, those are my comments.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Weiss. I don't know if we could have two items on a special session. I think, but if we can, we can.
He
Go
can
ahead.
request it in his request and whether they can figure out how to do it. But I think
hope
we should.
Tallahassee can.
Well, that's a whole different question.
We
But
need Mac Bernard up there.
yes.
Okay. Thank you for your service, Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as I mentioned this morning, we had a loss in the family, and I just want everyone to know I will be driving tomorrow, and so I will be absent the rest of this week. So, I think my staff has sent out notification for Solid Waste Authority and zoning. I won't be here. Friday is my happy birthday, so.
Oh, it's your birthday.
Yeah, and it's also the day of the funeral, so hopefully it'll maybe be a little more of a celebration of life. I did send out a memo asking, and if Todd is still here, okay, we right now, I actually found out myself I was not in compliance with the rabies tags because my dog Zoe has a 3-year shot, and right now we require residents to get a new rabies tag every year, even though the shot is good for 3 years. So I was under the false assumption that, she's vaccinated, so, the tag should be that. And when I had the conversation with you before, wanted to know, what can we do about this? And also that the veterinarians and the clinics who do the shots no longer send the paperwork in for our residents. And I think we're only at 40% compliance, which most people do get their animals vaccinated, but they're not doing the licensing. So I asked them, and it'll come back, but I know Todd already got back to me this morning when we talked about it yesterday, so
Very
could you
good.
address that?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Stephanie Shanahan, Director of Public Safety. First of all, I'm sorry to hear about the loss in your family, and happy birthday on Friday. As it relates to the 3-year tag, that is definitely something that we're looking at through our ordinance revision. We're actually going to be coming to this board probably the end of next year. We have several community meetings with our partners and as well as the residents that are pet owners to make changes to the ordinance. It's a major ordinance rewrite. I think the last ordinance revision was almost 10 years ago, so it's time for an update. And that is something that we will be recommending to this board, is to have an option for a 3-year license to coincide with their 3-year rabies shot. There's some vets that do not offer a 3-year shot. They only offer a year shot, so we would have to obviously have that option as well. As far as the vets that do sell tags, we send out a notice to all of them for them to sign an actual agreement with the county to be able to sell a tag. If they do sell a tag, they can charge $5, which is on top of the regular tag, which is like $15. And then once that information is paid, that's then submitted through the county with their rabies certificate as well as their payment. And then if they don't pay their tag at the office, at the clinic, then they can come in and either pay it at Animal Care or they can pay it online. So the vets are made aware, but some of them just choose not to sell.
And just so, even then, they're only doing a 1-year tag right now, so residents are still having 2 additional years that technically are not in compliance, so.
Yeah, we've
we're gonna
definitely,
clean that
yeah,
up,
we've
right?
definitely recognized that that's an issue because it's a, just, they're not aware. They think, oh, well, I got a 3 years rabies shot. My tag is good for 3 years, and it could be a huge miscommunication. And so we've tried to clarify that, but it's still, we know, we've recognized that it's an issue, and we know that it needs to be changed in the ordinance. So we're going to definitely move forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
You did, I remember.
And I was also requesting Mayor Sack's appointment to the vacant seat on the Multi-Jurisdictional Issues Coordination Forum. I realized we are allowed 2 seats, and right now only Commissioner Barnett is on that board, so I would like to request that appointment.
Thank you. I volunteered. Thank you very much. I think we should call it the Zoe tag. Is that the name of your dog?
Would love
Yeah,
Zoe
we'll
tag
call
is
it the
perfect.
Zoe, yeah, the Zoe policy. We won't call it the Zoe tax. We'll call it the Zoe policy. I think it's a great idea because I also got a notice in the mail addressed to my dog.
Yes.
Yes, it was very yes, it was, that I had to pay for another year, so. Okay, Commissioner Barnett. go
Thank
right
you
ahead.
very much, Mayor, and look forward to welcoming you to the Multi-Jurisdictional Board. I missed working with you. I've missed you ever since you left the Value Adjustment Board.
Sorry about that.
Well, glad to be working with you again, aside from here. Mayor, I'd like to ask permission for an off-site certificate of recognition for the mayor of Palm Springs, Bev Smith, and an off-site certificate of recognition for the mayor of Green Acres, Chuck Shaw.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Very well-deserving public servants in my district.
Very definitely.
Thank you very much. I also wanted to recognize Catherine Miller, Dr. Miller, and Paul Petrino, and all the doctors at the medical examiner's office. And I'm grateful for the direction that we gave for the construction of their new facility, badly needed. They are some of the best medical professionals in any medical examiner's office in the state. I serve on the Medical Examiners Commission for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and I've toured their office, witnessed a few autopsies, very interesting. And it's something we don't think of, we don't want to think about it, but we're all going to end up there at the end of our lives, and it's an important service they provide to all of our citizens at the very end of our lives. But I also wanted to ask permission for the board to draft a letter, possibly by our county attorney, to the President of the Senate, to the Governor of Florida, and to our Speaker of the House, with one voice, united from the Board of County Commissioners, demanding a special session to be convened, addressing before December 31st this condo crisis that so many of our residents are facing. I know we all have condos. I think we all have condos in all of our districts, and at some level, people we represent are going to be affected by this negatively. I had a chance to sit and talk with some condo owners, and Don Ramon with Representative Rick Roth and some leaders of the Hispanic community. A lot of these condo owners who are being asked to pay 5, 6-figure condo fees to pay for these arrearages, because the reserves were allowed to be depleted, they can't afford it. I talk to people all the time who are saying they have no choice. The law offers them no recourse but to sell their condos. That's for some of our older citizens, they're on fixed income, Social Security. They're not working. They can't afford to take out mortgages to pay these fees, and they're going to be out on the streets, maybe having to move back home with their families. I don't want to read the entire memo that I sent you. I know you had a chance to read it, but I happily accept Commissioner Weiss's friendly amendment to request that the legislature deal with not only this, the law hiking condo fees, but also skyrocketing property insurance, if that's something they can do, if it's allowable.
Sure, I think it is, and I would only say that maybe we could do it in two separate letters, just so that each gets its own, priority.
Right.
Because I think they're both very, very important.
Very important.
Weiss and yourself, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. This is not a Republican-Democrat issue. We have bipartisan support for this. We have Representative Catherine Waldron, who submitted a letter that I hope the clerk will.
Today, yeah.
If she was here, she couldn't stay. But Representative Caruso as well.
Right.
We've been having conversations. This is important to them as well. And they support us. They support us doing this, and I hope we can get unanimous support from the Board of County Commissioners to send a message to Tallahassee that they need to fix this before it becomes a crisis. This overreaction to what happened, to the terrible tragedy in Surfside, is potentially going to become an even bigger tragedy because
people, right.
because
Is
this law
anybody
was not
opposed to that?
thought out.
No, I don't see any. Ms. Kaufman.
Yeah, I don't normally do this, but can I ask that Todd would go ahead and draft that letter, because that's kind of his forte? And we might want to couch it and figure out the best approach.
I think it's a good idea. Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, perfect.
So good. Thank you, Todd. All right. Are you feeling very good?
That's all I have. Thank you very much. Really appreciate this.
Thank you. I early voted with my 91-year-old dad on Saturday, who I would like to wish happy birthday. He will turn 92 on August 25th.
Wonderful.
And still
That's nice.
walking his couple miles every morning and shopping and doing all those things that, wish I could do. So who has the time? On a sad note, for those of you that might have known Bobby Culpepper, he was actually the first local-born county commissioner and mayor of Jupiter. He passed away, 93, I think it was 93. And interestingly enough, he just finished his book. And the book is called He Jumped into Jupiter, What Really Happened, and the proceeds are going to go to the Jupiter Lighthouse. So I have purchased my book. Anybody else who's listening, if you want to support the Jupiter Lighthouse and Mr. Culpepper, who when I first became a county commissioner, I sat with him for what I thought was going to be an hour, which turned into 5.
Wow.
And didn't want to leave him. He was such a wealth of information and history, and things like, Greg's not here, State Road 7, and the history of the expansion of State Road 7, and the acquiring of the right-of-way, and then the acquiring of more right-of-way. This has been in the works for 40 years. So it was just fun to hear him talk, and we have lost someone very special, and in the future I will be bringing back a request for a recognition for him, but I'd like to speak with his family first on that. So that is all I have. Thank you very much. I'm glad everybody's back from vacation. I was 2.5 weeks in the woods by myself. It was so nice. And then we come back to this. So, woohoo, we kicked off this week well. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. And just on that note with Culpepper, most folks don't realize that Culpepper also designated that we would have public access to our beaches. And that all of Florida's beaches in the Constitution belong to the people of Florida. We are the only state in the union, not California, not Hawaii, where the people of the state own the beaches. And it was Culpeper who started that, and that we would always have to have public access to a beach, so that if you don't have the money to live in a high-rise, which blocks access to the beach, you are guaranteed public access. So I look forward, Vice Mayor, to you bringing in more information about this icon. And maybe one day, generations from now, they'll say, oh, I remember Commissioners so-and-so, they did this and that, and they built Florida into a beautiful, beautiful land that will one day be for our kids and our grandchildren. With that, I just want to thank my colleagues. We get along pretty well. We got pretty testy issues that come before us, but we are a group, we're a team, and I want to thank you for making it so easy to be part of this wonderful county commission. And with that, safe driving, and let's go vote.